everybody will have 10 minutes to talk about
She's
the
pretty.
views of the hearing and what this is all about. Then we will have a panel to
Attention, shit talkers, YouTubers, and my fellow assholes around the world. Welcome to
if that's possible.
Shit Talkers 2.0 television with your host Chad this morning with Amy Coney Barrett's
My goal is to
hearing to secure the Supreme Court.
reasonable hour in the evening. Thursday we'll begin
With,
the markup. I intend to
Lindsey Graham is chairman speaking right now, and I'll just let him, we'll all just stay here and listen to this
So
go.
if I may, I'll start off with an opening statement.
Tell me again, shit talkers ain't political people.
Number one,
Huh, I am shit talkers. Remember that, everybody out there, you group terrorists.
what can you say about Justice Ginsburg? She was confirmed 96 to
9,600-year-old, yeah. 963-year-old.
4 days that have since passed.
Get ready, ready.
Yes, I regret that.
Oh, I gotta put my foot up, or I broke it yesterday.
96 to 3.
I broke my foot playing football. Damn.
For the ACLU, someone who was known in progressive circles as an icon.
Oh, my foot.
Apparently, just about every Republican voted for her.
Damn right they did.
Her good friend on the board.
Republican, by the way. I gotta flash it. I flashed it already in another video.
I don't
Republican.
know what happened.
In 3 years, I went from liberal to Democrat to Republican in 9 years, and 3 presidents.
But I just want to remind everybody, there was a time in this country where someone like Ruth Bader Ginsburg was seen
Don't
by
tell nobody I
almost
voted for
everybody
Obama first
as
time.
qualified for the
I voted
position
for
of being on
McCain
the
the second
Supreme
time.
Court.
That's when I was liberal. I voted for Obama. Democrat, I voted for McCain even though he's Republican.
27 years old.
Then I voted for the greatest
Becoming
president
a
of
member of the
history.
board, she was an active litigator.
We watched him fire everybody for 3 or 4 years on Apprentice, and then we got to watch him drain the swamp. Let's listen to Lindsey Graham here, not listen to me.
Her close friend until his death, Justice Scalia called her the leading
Republican.
and very successful litigator on behalf of women's rights, the Thurgood Marshall of that cause. What high praise. I can't say any more than
We
that.
got all the major players in politics here right now
In my
on
view,
this chair.
The person appearing before this committee is in a category of excellence, something the country
I love
should
Lindsey
be
Graham.
proud of, and she'll have a chance to make her case to be a worthy
He acts like he's got a little
successor
sugar in his tank. Ain't
and
nothing wrong with
to
that.
become the 9th member of the Supreme Court of the United States. On September the 26th,
Oh, Amy, you can take that Democrat
Barret
mask
was
off.
nominated by President Trump to the Supreme Court. Who is she?
A hot brunette.
She is a judge sitting on the Seventh Judicial Circuit. She's highly respected. She was a professor at Notre Dame.
Damn.
3 years during that tenure, she was chosen by the students being the best professor,
Wow.
which I'm sure is no easy task at any college.
Especially a liberal
Widely
college.
admired for
Well, any college is a
integrity.
liberal college. So, well,
She grew
except
up
Notre
in New
Dame,
Orleans,
which I'll probably
graduated
my
from Rhodes
kids
College
towards.
in Memphis, Tennessee in 1994.
between Notre Dame and Ohio State, where I send my
First in her class from Notre Dame
recruits.
Law School in 1999.
I do. I won Ohio State. That's where all your big.
Academically,
He's closer to home.
very gifted.
Well, Ohio State's
She clerks
best
for
program in
Judge
the country,
Lawrence
and it's 10
Silverman
seconds away.
on the U.S. Court of Appeals for the D.C. Circuit.
And especially if you're a white defensive end like Joey Bosa and Nick Bosa, both white, both played for Ohio State, both in the NFL. So chalk over
Joined the
defensive
faculty at
end.
Notre Dame in 2002.
And he's big as both of
She
those in
published
the 8th
numerous
grade.
articles
He's big
in
as Joey
prestigious
and
journals, including the Columbia, University of Virginia, and Cornell Law Review.
it's not the Chad and
She's been
JJ
a
show.
Circuit
It's the
Court
Chad
judge
show.
at the 7th Circuit
It was the shit
since
talker show.
2017. She was confirmed to that position in with a bipartisan vote. She has heard hundreds of cases in that capacity. She said, I clerked for Justice Scalia more than 20 years ago but the lessons I learned still resonate. His judicial
Good.
philosophy is mine.
Get your own
A
YouTube
judge
channel,
must
Judge.
apply the law as written. Judges are not policymakers.
This is shit talkers.
They must be
You can't talk
resolute
shit.
in
You
setting
don't even need to be
aside
on the
any
show. You don't
policy
even need to be in a
they might
Facebook group.
She will give
Have
her,
shit talker in the name.
but I think that
Which
is
I
a good
created.
summary of who she is. That's who Amy Barrett is in terms of the law. In terms of Amy Barrett, the individual, she and her husband have 7 children.
Wow. She don't look like it.
So 9 seems to be a good number. This is an election year.
Yep, 9 members of
We're
the family.
confirming
She's
the
gonna
judge
make it
in the
9th
election
judge.
year after the voting has occurred.
What is it, 5
What will
Republicans?
happen is that my Democratic colleagues will say, this has never been done, and they're right in this regard. Nobody, I think, has ever been confirmed election year past July. The bottom line is Justice Ginsburg, when asked about this several years ago, said that a president serves 4 years, not 3. There's nothing unconstitutional about this process.
Oh shit.
This is a vacancy that occurred through a tragic loss of a great woman, and we're going to fill that vacancy with another great woman. The bottom line here is
They lied about her dying wish. I know she wasn't worried about politics when she was taking her last breath. I know she had to be kissing her family and telling them I love you and shit.
It's her
the voting
granddaughter.
that occurred with the passing of Justice Scalia was in the early part of an election year.
Is that her granddaughter went on that rant?
Yeah.
Here, hold on, guys, I'll
Not
show
that
you.
grant, that was her granddaughter who
Hold on, I'll
There's
show
never
it to
been
you.
a situation where you had a
said
president
that
of one
was
party
dying
and
wish.
Senate of
Yeah, that was a lie.
And if that was her dying wish, then poor woman.
No,
She
that-
had nothing more.
That's a lie. You know nobody is worried about their damn job or anything to do about their job when you're dying. You're worried about your family. At least you should be. So I don't believe none of that shit. I believe she said it, but she didn't say it like that day or nothing like that. It turns out it was one of her dying wishes, and that she actually was still alive like 3 days afterwards. So it wasn't her dying last wish on her deathbed deal. Even if it does, the president has a job to do, ladies.
I feel that we're doing this constitution.
Where's my phone at? You unplugged it.
Our Democratic friends object.
Where's my phone at? You unplugged it.
No,
I
you mean
respect
it
them
charge.
all. They'll have a chance to have their say. But most importantly,
I want to show you the video of the meltdown that Miss Ginsburg's daughter, how devastated she was over her death. Or was it over her political views? Did she really care about Ruth? I doubt it. Cat, get out behind me.
A lot of people on our
Oh, that's a dog this time. Come on, Kobe.
I hear that a lot.
It ain't, we gonna do the Chad and Kobe show?
So the bottom line is, I
You
think
ain't on this, you ain't getting none of our
this is a
revenue.
lifetime of
You ain't getting none of our
I would like
super
to
chat money.
country to
Tell him
know
Dimple,
about Judge
tell him
Barrett.
Tammy, tell him
Proud of
Richie
you,
Wiley.
proud of what you've accomplished. I think you're a great choice by the president.
It's your phone, Don.
This is probably not
My
about
phone's on
persuading
charge.
each other.
I know, it's
Something
here.
really dramatic happened.
That way I can hold Dimple, Richie,
Yeah, but I don't
Tammy.
need-
Yes,
you rather
all
than watch
Democrats
charge.
will vote no.
You don't ever do that?
I try not
And it's
to.
79% charge, or you just not
Oh,
listening?
is that high?
Hearing is a
Killer, don't worry
for
about it.
Democrats.
It's just that when I
To
take it to
dig
work,
deep
I
into
don't
her
have to
philosophy.
nobody to charge.
Appropriately
That's
ask
high. Worry
her
about
about
She ain't got nowhere to charge it.
how she would be different, what's on her mind.
I've
Oh,
always
this
thought,
Dimple was online. And the ugliest Cleveland Brown socks, they look brown every time you show them to me. I told you black.
you're the one that said they were black.
To find out
I don't know.
about Judge
And I
Barrett.
think these ones are
Judge
going to
for yourself. Is this
Let's
the
see if any of my
person
shit talkers
qualified?
on your account.
Is she as qualified as Sotomayor and
Richie.
Kagan? I think so. These were
I'm
two
gonna call
nominees
Richie, put him on
presented
the
to
show.
the committee by President Obama. They had a different legal philosophy than my own, but I never doubted one moment that they were not qualified. I thought Gorsuch and Kavanaugh were qualified. The Senate in the past has looked at qualifications more than anything else. We've taken a different path at times, or
Answer your phone, Rich Riley. Wake up.
Kavanaugh. hope we don't take
Now you've already wiped the date.
Judge Barret. She doesn't deserve that. I don't think it makes this hearing any better. The American people, I believe, would not deserve a repeat of those episodes in the Senate Judiciary Committee's history. To my Democratic colleagues, I respect you all. We've done some things together. We've had some fights in this committee. I've tried to give you the time you need to make your case, and you have every right in the world to make your case. I think I know how the vote's going to come out, but I think Judge Barret is required for the good of the nation to submit to your questions in hours. It's going to be a long, contentious week. Just that's one thing of the committee. To the extent possible, let's make it respectful. Let's make it challenging. Let's remember the world is watching. Senator Feinstein.
Thanks very much, Mr. Chairman, and I do want to just address your last statements. We feel the same way, and I believe we want this to be a very good hearing, and I certainly will strive to do my best to achieve that. Good morning, Judge Barret, and welcome to you and your family. Less than 1 month ago, the nation lost one of our leading voices.
If he calls you back or messages you back, then I'm going to be live on YouTube, by the way.
Very big shoes to fill. Judge Ginsburg loved the law.
I'm going to kick my leg up.
She worked all of her life to ensure that the opening words of our Constitution, we the people of the United States, in order to form a more
Let's see if Tammy can answer.
Including all the people, not just a few.
Nobody's answering anyone.
She was a standard bearer for
Are
justice.
you using the messenger app?
Yeah.
Ginsburg's nomination was the first one that I participated in when I came to the Senate. And it was a real thrill to be part of that crowded and celebratory hearing for someone who had broken down barriers and reopened doors and staunchly believed in a woman's right to full equality and autonomy. In filling Judge Ginsburg's seat, the stakes are extraordinarily high for the American people, both in the short term.
See if you want to do your cooking show this evening. See if you got a brisket.
Most importantly, healthcare coverage for
So you want to
millions
fire
of
up that big
Americans
smoker
is
on
at
Shit
stake
Talkers TV and shows how to make brisket out of liberal tears.
My colleagues and I have spoken
I'm telling you,
on that
Kenny,
subject.
you need to get your own salt shaker. It says Ken Dipples
If,
salt
and
shaker.
that's a big if,
It'd be 100%
succeed
liberal
in
tears on the
pushing
bottom.
this nomination through the Senate before the next president takes office. But most importantly, in just a few weeks, on November 10th, the Supreme Court will hear hearings in Texas v. California, a case brought to strike down the ACA. The president has promised to appoint justices who will vote to dismantle.
Shut up, boss, man.
As a candidate, he criticized the Supreme Court for upholding the law and said, and I quote, "If I win the presidency, my judicial appointments will do the right thing, unlike
I think Kimmy's going to answer.
John Roberts on Obamacare," end quote. And when he appointed Judge Barret to fill Justice Ginsburg's seat, the president said that eliminating the Affordable Care Act would be, quote, "a big win for the USA."
No, I think you're unemployed. You need to jump in on this, make some of these YouTube dollars with me. I had a dream
Upholding the law, stating that Roberts
that we bought our own island.
the Affordable Care Act.
We took Shit Talkers to YouTube and made a fortune using all of our qualities that drew us to the internet or draw people to Facebook. YouTube instead of Facebook.
That the ACA provides. So I hope you will clarify that in this hearing. First, more than 130 million Americans with pre-existing conditions
I wonder if I sing Dipple a song, you'll sing it to
asthma, or even COVID-19 could be denied coverage or charged more to obtain health insurance. This includes more than 16.8 million Californians.
I'll be
with pre-existing
missing
conditions.
you
And we
every
just want to say,
single day. But Timmy went away.
12 million working Americans.
It's the price I pay
ACA's
to
Medicaid
break.
expansion.
I'll be
If the act is struck
missing
down,
you.
they lose their health care. Third, more than 2 million Americans
That's just
under the age of 26
all right, here's our Uncle Cousin Timmy. I'm gonna bring him live on here one way or another. One way or another, Uncle Cousin Timmy. No, yeah,
Higher
video.
premiums for women simply because.
Oh, he didn't answer. He hung straight up.
Fifth, women have
You don't want to know, he's in a bed.
critical preventive
Not everybody's
services
up here for
and
He is. I see his little bubble. It just dropped down here.
and well woman visits. Now, the bottom line is this. There have been 70 attempts to review.
Maybe he'll talk to me once we get out serenading with a sweet
But
song.
clearly, the efforts to
Oh, my
dismantle the law continue, and they are asking the Supreme Court to strike down the Affordable Care Act. This, I believe, will cause tremendous harm. Consider people like Christina Monroe Garcia of my home state. At age 60, Christina's eyesight started to fail because of cataracts. She had always struggled to obtain insurance because of pre-existing conditions, including C-sections and epilepsy.
Oh, devil's
The
working.
cost of coverage, when it was even offered to her, averaged between $2,500 and $3,000 a month, far more than she and her husband could afford. In 2010, she was able to obtain coverage through the Affordable Care Act. Within weeks,
Okay, I'm going live all day.
she was able to have cataract surgery. This saved her life. Christina described her reaction when she was able to get coverage
Your song
through the California Health Exchange
is
following passage
about
of the ACA. And let me quote, "It was like manna from heaven. I cried. After all these years of struggling to obtain coverage, I was able to get insurance through the California Exchange, no questions asked about my pre-existing conditions. The premium was worth $200 a month as compared to the $2,500 to $3,000 monthly payments I would have to pay before the ACA if I could even get an insurer to offer me coverage." As Christina further explained, and I quote, "People just don't understand what it was like. The incredible fear before the Affordable Care Act, having to worry about being able to cover medical expenses and not being able to find affordable insurance," end quote. We can't afford to go back to those days when Americans could be denied coverage or charged exorbitant amounts. That's what's at stake for many of us, for America, with this nomination. And that's why the questions we will ask and the views, hopefully, that you will share with us are so important. We are now just 22 days from the election, Mr. Chairman. Voting is underway in 40 states. Senate Republicans are pressing forward full speed ahead to consolidate a court that will carry their policies forward with, I hope, some review for the will of the American people. President Trump said last week that he had, quote, "instructed my representatives to stop negotiation over a
all right, guys.
COVID-19 relief
If you follow me right now,
until after the
I got
election."
Uncle Cousin Timmy, the best barbecuer in Texas, about to fire that big wood burning grill he's got up and show us how to make it official Texas brisket from a professional. Timmy also owns his own catering business, so you might want to give him a shout out for any catering done. He's the man for the job.
should have a voice in the selection
Y'all,
of their next.
Jimmy, damn, Jim, I don't know the name of
When asked in October
your
2018,
page, your cooking page. You want to
Republicans
get that.
intended to honor their own
I'm
rule
gonna ask
if an
you.
opening were to come up in 2020. Chairman Graham promised, quote, if an opening comes in the last year of President Trump's term and the primary process has started, we'll wait till after the next election. Republicans should honor this word for their promise and let the American people be heard. Simply put, I believe we should not be moving forward on this nomination, not until the election has ended and the next president has taken office. Thank you, Mr.
Welcome, Judge. On March 1, 2016, Justice Ginsburg delivered a eulogy for her friend, Justice Scalia. Justice Ginsburg said, quote, we were different, yes, in our interpretation of written text, yet one in our reverence for the courts and its place in the U.S. system of governance, end of quote. Justice Ginsburg's remarkable life and legacy will be honored for a generation, and also Justice Scalia's. The Senate is now tasked with carrying out perhaps its most solemn duty under the Constitution. As we go through this process, we should heed Justice Ginsburg's words with a shared reverence for the court and its place in our constitutional system. This idea of place.
All right, guys, I'm getting confirmation that Dipple's going to go live here tonight
Is the government
on Shit Talkers
of separated power.
2.0 television.
Power to make, enforce, and interpret law isn't centralized in one person or one branch of government. That's not a mistake. You all know what our American Revolution was all about and what the Constitution is all about. Because people at that time were sick and tired of one person, George III, restricting American colonies of freedom that English-speaking people elsewhere exercise. As Justice Scalia reminds us, the framers recognized the separation of powers as, quote, the absolutely central guarantee of a just government, because without a secure structure of separated powers, our Bill of Rights would be worthless, end of quote. But this constitutional system only succeeds if each branch respects its proper role. A good judge understands it's not the court's place to rewrite the law as it sees fit. It's not his or her place to let policy, personal,
All right, guys,
moral principles dictate.
we're going to have the man that can make a brisket like this
We are
teach us how to make a brisket like that.
records
And that is Uncle Cousin,
clearly reflect,
Reverend Uncle Cousin Timmy's barbecue cooking.
quote, a judge must apply the law.
I can't read the last word where it's backwards.
Judges are not policymakers,
Barbecue
and they must be resolute.
catering. That's his catering business. Let's do that again. Attention, shit talkers, YouTubers, and fellow assholes across the world. If you're in the Texas area and you need a caterer, I'll have you covered. Reverend Uncle Cousin Timmy's barbecue catering business. Right there at House Barbecue in Texas. He has he got a giant smoker that I'm absolutely jealous of, and I'm telling you, I've seen him feed I've seen him where he's fed up to 500 people at weddings. I mean, he's got a huge smoker. He's got the best smoker in the South.
She's also known as, quote, a generous mentor. And she's known for her, quote, her humility, graciousness, and her ability, born of her credibility, to build consensus among differing views, end of quote. Her students, quote, expressed awe with the power of Judge Barrett's intellect, with her mastery and organization of complex material, and with her professionalism, end of quote. Leaders of more than 200 liberty supporting groups across the country say Judge Barrett, quote, possesses the judicial temperament and philosophy necessary as a bulwark for our Constitution and institutions of government, end of quote. 24 state governors describe Judge Barrett as, quote, a woman of great moral character who is devoted to her country, community, family, and faith like many Americans, end of quote. The Wall Street Journal editorial board says, quote, President Trump's nomination of Coney Barret for the Supreme Court is the highlight of his presidency, end of quote. A promise kept, a promise made, a promise kept. Liberal Harvard law professor Noah Feldman called Judge Barrett, quote, a principled, brilliant lawyer, a genuine and good person, highly qualified to serve on the Supreme Court. That's a pretty high praise. I just recited from others. Moreover, Judge Barrett is a tireless mother of 7. For decades, I've led efforts in the Senate to improve foster care and promote adoption. So it's a privilege for me to welcome a justice like that to the Supreme Court. To sum up, Judge Barrett's qualifications and character are impeccable. Unfortunately, I expect the minority will try to ruffle up baseless claims and scare tactics as they've done for decades. Anything to derail the confirmation of a Republican nominee. Lately, the left is threatening to attack the Supreme Court in retaliation for this confirmation process. Even the Democrats' nominee for president and vice president have not ruled out such blatantly partisan policy grabs. Republicans are following the Constitution and the precedent. It seems Democrats would rather just ignore both. The left is also suggesting Judge Barrett's confirmation would be the demise of the Affordable Care Act and the protection for pre-existing conditions. That's outrageous. As a mother of 7, Judge Barrett clearly understands the importance of health care. So let's set the record straight. Then Professor Barrett criticized Chief Justice Roberts' conclusion that the Affordable Care Act penalty was actually attacked. Democrats say her viewpoint is radical in a preview of how she might vote on the court. First, her comments dealt with a provisional law that's no longer in effect. So the legal questions before the court this fall are entirely separate. Moreover, her criticism of Roberts' reasoning is mainstream, not only in the conservative legal community, but well beyond. I'm the chairman of the Finance Committee and was ranking member when Democrats unilaterally cobbled together Obamacare. I know a tax when I see one. This wasn't a tax. It was never discussed in committee as a tax. Even the Democrats who forced it through Congress insisted it wasn't a tax. Jeffrey Toobin wrote that Roberts' tax argument was quote unquote not a persuasive one. President Obama even said, quote, I absolutely reject the notion that it was a tax. Further, Democrats and their allies shouldn't claim to know how any judge would rule in any particular case. Just look at history. The left slammed Stevens for his consistent opposition to women's rights. They called Anthony Kennedy sexist and a disaster for women. They said David Souter would, quote, end freedom of women in this country. Ultimately, the left praised these very justices that they attacked. Their doomsday prediction failed to pan out. Democrats and their leftist allies have also shown that there is no low that they won't stoop to in their crusade to tarnish a nominee. And I saw it all as chairman of this committee when Kavanaugh came up. Some of my colleagues may once again try to misrepresent and outright disparage Judge Barrett's religious beliefs and affiliations. In 2017, they suggested Judge Barrett was too faithful or too Catholic to be a judge. One senator asked whether she considered herself an Orthodox Catholic. Another told her, the dogma lives loudly within you, and that is of concern. Let me remind everyone that Article 1 clearly prohibits religious tests for serving in public office. Mr. Chairman, I got 5 sentences left. Judge, you'll no doubt be asked how you'll rule on questions and issues and whether the case was correctly decided. I expect that you'll follow the example of Justice Ginsburg. A nominee should offer no forecasts, no hints of how he or she'll vote, because that's the role of a judge. That's the place of a judge in our system of government. Unbiased, fiercely independent,
Are you,
faithful to the rule of law.
Yeah, I'm talking
and
to
a
this one.
steadfast defender of the Constitution. Judge Barrett, I look forward to our conversation. Once again, congratulations.
Thanks, Senator Grassley. I believe Senator Leahy will now join us virtually.
Thank you. I can assume you can hear me all right.
Yes, sir. We see you. There you are. Thank you.
Thank you.
She's hot, devil.
You know, as I listen to this, I think about the fact that I've served in the Senate for 46 years. During that time, we had 20 Supreme Court nominations, 16 confirmation hearings. And I can tell you right now, none look anything like this. We're less than 2 weeks from Justice Ginsburg being laid to rest. Now, it's true, it's the responsibility of this committee to consider her replacement on the Supreme Court, but this isn't the way we should do it. We should not have had a nomination ceremony before Justice Ginsburg was even buried. While the nation was mourning her passing.
It was
We
more
should
than,
not be holding a hearing just 16 days later, when this committee has afforded itself 3 times as long to vet other modern nominees for our nation's highest court. We shouldn't be holding a hearing 3 weeks from a presidential election, when millions of Americans have already voted. All we're doing is requires that literally half of the Senate goes back on their word. Think of that, my Republican colleagues. Literally half of the Senate had to break their word, contradicting every argument they made 40 years ago about the American people needing a voice during election year vacancies.
We need a voice.
We should not be holding this hearing when it's plainly two members of this committee just now.
Come on, JJ, get off of him.
Quarantine after testing positive for COVID. And we're
All right, guys, if you're looking for Dipple to do any catering, he just told me that he's already got a wedding scheduled on the 24th of this month. Okay.
and Judge Barret and her family safe. And I might say we shouldn't be spending time on this. We're doing absolutely nothing to pass a much needed COVID bill. Every senator on this committee knows in their heart is total break with precedent, break with their commitments is wrong. More than 212,000 Americans have died due to COVID. Millions more are hurting. The virus is spiking again across the country. The Senate Republicans have nothing to say about that. The Senate is wearing blinders to the grim realities facing Americans. Instead, we're talking about COVID and doing something to help the American people who are engaged in this mad rush to fill a Supreme Court vacancy on the eve of a presidential election. And why? I think the answer is painfully clear.
Let's see what Timmy can teach us to make tonight, redneck style. I love a redneck
swing.
Especially
conflict
Texas,
work.
they always got the best
They
food.
see that the.
And Timmy's probably one of the best cooks. Get down, cat. Oh, my leg. Ah!
On the far right.
Dude.
The technical conference.
JJ, you are not the boss. I'm the boss.
Failed to accomplish by votes in Congress.
Yeah.
In the top of the hit list.
You need to work, yeah.
It's no secret, it's not coincidence. The Republicans are rushing to confirm Judge Barret before the Supreme Court considers today's Republican-led lawsuit to overturn the Affordable Care Act on November 10th.
My phone.
The president, one member of this committee has promised he won't vote for a judge unless he has that commitment that the nominee will return the act. And for her part, Judge Barrett's writings have made it unequivocally clear she considers the act unconstitutional. In fact, overturning the Affordable Care Act has been perhaps the single most important
Seriously, Cat?
objective of the Republican Party during the past decade.
Ugh.
If Republicans are now successful,
We may want a
the
cat.
result will be nothing
They want a cat.
We'll ship it.
for millions of Americans. who depend
We'll
upon
ship
this
it free of charge. Whether it gets there alive or not,
These
it's
are
on
real
you.
people. You may, I believe you have in the committee, and I'm trying to get this, you can
You only
see it.
people.
This
Yeah.
is Mary Nathan Scott. She lives in Northfield, Vermont. That's just over the ridge from my home in Middlesex, Vermont. In her 20s, Mary was diagnosed with Friedreich's ataxia, a rare neurological disease. Like my wife myself. And I apologize.
What's it got to do with Amy Coney Barrett?
In the committee with them.
Other than that woman looks kind of like her.
Mary worked as a nurse. Realizing she would soon no longer be able to pursue the career she loved, she asked the hospital to rotate her through different specialties so she could help more people in as many ways as possible. That's who she is. Now she's in a wheelchair. She can no longer practice
Man,
medicine. She does everything
I hope I don't have to
to take care of her two
walk
children.
very far to that ball game. Would you mind getting my other monster? You too busy. If you are, I understand. I will get it.
Son on his birthday last spring. And Mary, their soccer game. She helped their
What?
He was brought to the tour of the Vermont State. Now Mary could do it because of the medication, they didn't hold care. But she's working, even with some state protection.
You're at
She's
hard work
working
woman trying to figure out what she's gonna wear to work today.
For people with pre-existing conditions.
Make sure you call my
For
doctor.
Mary, she
Tell
lost
her how
her
crazy I am.
She loses her in-home support that allows her to
And
continue.
call Social Security
staying
office.
home and taking care of her
Tell them I
children.
need that $100 million check ASAP.
When I take a look at Affordable Care Act means to me as Americans, what's on the line with this nomination? I think of Mary.
Yeah.
I think of what
So
she's going
nominate
to
her.
lose. And she's not doing it. You know, I talk to Vermonters all the time.
What's this guy going on
I
about?
don't think of another one.
He don't want.
He don't want her. He's using a girl in a wheelchair. He's using Smokey the Bear. How desperate are these people? A picture of Smokey the Bear and his dead wife, apparently.
Of the Medicaid expansion.
Lord, this is
Of the
idiotic.
Affordable Care Act. Martha earns just over the minimum wage in Vermont. She works for the Vermont State Parks.
Oh, I lied. She ain't dead yet. She's knocking on heaven's door.
Just
That's
look at this person.
40 years ago.
So that's rolling out the
I believe
expense.
Smokey the Bear's racist now, ain't he? Where he's black, brown.
Debilitating pain in her ear.
Don't be saying that, nobody. I'm going to edit that out. Somebody's going to hear that on my channel and run with the Smokey the Bear's racist. And they're offended. Please do not be offended by a black or brown Smokey the Bear. Please don't make him a polar bear.
Now, as the Republican attorneys general have requested a case before the Supreme Court, millions of Americans like Mike would be on their own. Now, I do not suggest that Judge Barret personally desires these consequences, or personally desires to devastate the lives of these two voters. Far from it.
But why the hell did you bring that all up, our senator, lady?
Views on the policy.
Fuck you.
Supreme Court.
Yo, turd. Hold on, Dipple sent me a message earlier. He's charging. You're at 89%.
But then we know.
Right. Well, Dipple's want me
So
to
that's what's at stake here.
show off his catering
That's
business.
what weighs heavily on me as we begin to hear.
I'm gonna subscribe you to his catering page. Okay? Timmy, you hear that? She went, she don't want your catering.
They're scared.
She don't want to be a member of your catering page.
Last time I got members of any of your shit,
This is
I
his.
got a whole new phone,
This is
a whole
his.
new number, because you can't keep your shit and my shit separate.
That's because we're not separate. We're one person.
Well, your little,
Right there, Uncle Cousin Timmy's page. Make sure you subscribe to that. I am right now. Get it now. What's it called now? Oh, no, not called now. Like page.
Of climate change.
Hold on, I'll get us a video out and I'll show you what he's been cooking. And he's going to start cooking for Shit Talkers 2.0. And he'll be doing politics and food at the same time. He's cooking with liberal tears. Oh, here's my smoker. He don't know it yet, but I'm coming to Texas to steal this thing.
Just thoughts. These are real life implications of decisions made by the court.
Oh, here's a couple
The
briskets.
majority of them, like an overwhelming majority of my fellow Vermonters don't support taking our country in that direction. A Republican person that has the intention of filling Justice Ginsburg's seat just 1 hour after her death. In that moment, this process is getting.
what do you want to do? Keep her in her fucking seat while she's in the grave?
Yes, they want her to rot as a Supreme Court and get paid for it. No wonder why his company is always losing money for Trump.
You see that meme where they're talking about Pelosi, how much money she
Look at
made?
smoker that Dipple's got.
How much money she makes for being the Speaker of the House.
How much
and
she make?
She turns down like $200,000.
Look how hot he's got this smoker.
Her, the people getting another $1,200 stimulus check
Yeah,
3 times this week alone.
Yeah, she's knocked down. She don't want the American people to get money until she gets money.
Yeah, because she wants us to rebuild fucking Portland and these cities that fucking.
But that's the Democrats and liberals let them burn down because they hate Trump. He thought that was going to hurt him. Ain't going to hurt him. Them people can't vote.
Judicial philosophy.
I don't know if you saw that video of Dipple's. But here is the ribs, baby. As it looks like ribs. Oh my God, Steph. Hey, Dipple, you want to marry me and the other lady on the YouTube channel? I'll let you if you send me some of them ribs.
Justice Ginsburg said
Check him out, dog.
friendship with Justice Scalia.
No, I'm not.
Without being disagreeable.
Hey, Dipple, how much is it going to cost us to fly you out here?
During your time on the Seventh Circuit, you sided with your colleagues more than 95% of the time. And when you've had the rare disagreement.
And that's who's going to be taking over the cooking hour on Shit Talkers 2.0. And he's going to be using liberal tears as salt to salt these beautiful briskets and other food that he comes up with. And if you
students, virtually everybody with whom you come in contact.
if you're looking to order,
Widely different
the phone number to his catering business
respectful.
is 361
And when you disagree,
424
personal rancor,
0271. And that's official Texas barbecue.
reputation are on par with those.
Probably one of the greatest barbecuers in Texas, if not the greatest.
Political climate in which you are being vetted is quite different.
Oh man, look at all this stuff.
What our
Dipple, I'm
colleagues
getting hungry just looking at
Justice
this.
Kavanaugh through 2 years ago was an absolute disgrace. And hopefully a low
Oh.
for the Senate. They and some of their allies sought to destroy the personal character of a good man with innuendo, misinformation, and outright lies.
My picture quality is
I hope they
terrible.
resist the temptation.
If you can see how beautiful that is, oh my God. Look how that knife fell through it. It fell through it. He could have just set it on there and the weight of the knife would have split the rib.
Wall Street Journal column.
Or is that a brisket?
Supreme Court Justice wrote,
God, that's a brisket cutting a thin, beautiful
America's
strip.
secular cultural elites aren't
Well,
sure
that's
that if they
Uncle, cousin, Reverend Timmy's
trust
catering.
with the law.
If you have any catering, a wedding, or just want to throw a party,
Majority Leader Harry Reid recently
this
said
is the
that
man to get in
group
touch with.
wants Democrats on and off the committee want a real fight. But let me be
Too bad he
clear.
ain't got no sound to
You
it.
know, there's no religious test to serve on the Supreme Court. Why? Because the
No
Constitution
sound.
says so.
He is funny
And I
as
can only
fuck.
hope
He's almost as
the
funny as
ability
I
that
am.
you've shown through your professional
The old
work
lady
will be
says he's
afforded to
funnier,
you.
but I'm funnier. He might be better looking, but I'm funnier.
My discussions with my constituents.
And that was just a couple examples of Timmy's Catering,
How do you and your
live here at Shit Talkers 2.0 television. That will be maybe our evening broadcast to show us everybody when we cook dinner with Timmy. Maybe he'll show us a few secrets to the trade.
The balance that you achieve between your personal and professional
Let's
life.
get back on these people bashing Amy Barrett.
As is customary,
Bashing this woman. Too many is bashing her. Where's the liberals at crying over mansplaining here? Is this mansplaining?
There appears to be some dispute about here. You and I both know that judges should not be policymakers. But could it be
How
one
come
of the
down
reasons
pneumonia?
these confirmation hearings have become so contentious
Them
is
heads
because
clogged
some
up, got this
Americans
broke
have
foot.
given up on the idea of fair and impartial judges who do not pick winners and losers. That they've given
I
up
bet, oh boy's up.
on an independent judiciary. I hope
All right, that's it.
judges
Said
should not
that he
be
should
unelected
be there by
supervisors,
noon.
giving their political
Enough
allies
said.
wins they could not secure through the rough and tumble of the
Oh,
political
my foot.
process. Our founders, through the Constitution, provided that judges would be independent of political pressure. Chief Justice Roberts reminded all of us
I
recently.
probably have to take him
We do
crutches
not
with
have
me now.
Obama judges,
You know how far I
Trump
got.
judges, Bush
Yeah.
judges, or Clinton judges.
Street.
And ideally, that is
I
true.
went across the street. I definitely have to have
It
crutches.
said judges constrain themselves by making a choice to follow the
Oh, I got
law
my big
trying to check their own
cane.
preferences at every turn. In the end, the judges.
I'll take my big cane. Where's it at? Maybe I won't. Just kidding.
You stand accused
I
of
can't get away
intending to violate your oath before you even take it.
I don't plan on doing nothing. Getting far I need to up to. Is
Our
that door to
Democratic
go?
colleagues want you to guarantee a result in a case as a quid pro quo for your
I
confirmation.
need to suck the snot out of my nose.
Outrageous.
You can't think what I'm gonna break.
Well, they've said that if this
Wanna make
confirmation
you
proceeds, they intend to pack.
I'll make you some eggs, bacon.
Who will turn the Supreme
Taters.
Court into genuine
Stand.
second
Huh?
legislative
You
body.
can't even stand up.
I can wait for them to throw that breakfast bowl in my microwave. All that in.
That would be a terrible mistake.
No, I just do too.
Judge Barrett, I'm confident that at the end of this hearing, your stellar character.
Dude, shame on you. By the way, that reminds me. I was going to make a video on this because I'm going to lean into the camera because this really deeply affects me.
Judiciary in our Constitution. I'm confident
Tutors,
that you will
biscuit world.
demonstrate that you will face
There is somehow, whoa, how'd I
the
go
law
black?
and the Constitution. Beautifully apply
Once
it
you go black, you never go back. That's what they say, but damn, I'm black.
And I'm confident that
All right, yeah, I'm a good looking black.
you will be confirmed.
I'm black. Yay! I've always been black from the waist down. Looks like the rest of me. Maybe I can jump higher. I just break my foot when I come down. So
Judge Barrett, family, welcome.
am I not plugged in? What happened to my lighting? My lighting's into shard.
In the throes of a devastating pandemic, with over 216,000 Americans dead and over 7.7 million infected with this virus.
Yeah, and you told us 200, what was it, 200 million people was going to be dead.
Has changed our
That's a
minds.
big drop off from to 2 million, to 200,000. Wu flu is BS.
Millions of jobs lost, crushing challenges.
Australia just came out this morning with a politician over there stepped down just so he could publicly speak about that it is not a virus. It's a virus, not a pandemic. And we shouldn't be shutting down the government over a virus. A pandemic, he said, in the dynamics to call something a pandemic, that means that a much larger, I think he used the swine flu as an example. 50 million people died from swine flu when the or was it? That was in 1908. I believe they said population now is somewhere around 30 billion, something like that, in that ballpark. And with that new number, it had to rise up to be considered a pandemic. We have to have over 2 million people dead right now for it to be a pandemic, and that's a fact. Look up pandemic, ow, the swine flu, and compare those two numbers, and you'll understand what I'm talking about. We're facing a virus, not a pandemic. A pandemic is like the Black Plague or some shit. Have y'all noticed no one's died from cancer, nobody's died from heart disease, nobody's died from asbestos poisoning, nothing no more. You die right now, COVID death. George Floyd, he had COVID in his system, COVID death. Chavez is already out. And wait till Chavez gets off on police immunity when they realize, wait a minute, we can't prosecute him for this. They're really going to, the liberals and Black Lives Matter are really going to burn y'all's cities to the ground. Thank God I live in a city that's Republican, whose mayor is a Republican. And if he wasn't, I'd be running for mayor. As soon as Mr. McNeely steps down, hopefully he ingratiates me and helps me become mayor. I want to become mayor of the
Then you need to run. It ain't ingratiate. Nobody gives you that. You need to fucking run. But you need to hush.
Ingratiating is a fancy word for getting the blessing.
No, it ain't.
Oh, my bad.
The American people should have a voice in it.
Don't laugh at me. After you yell at me, then laugh at me. Just wham, wham, double
Well,
slam.
then you use words that are big words because you think you know what they mean, and then when you don't, when you use them wrong, I've got to correct you.
No, you don't.
Yes, I do.
No, you
That's
don't.
my job in this relationship, is to correct you when you're wrong. Because if I didn't, the shit that would come out your mouth is unbelievable.
It's unbelievable anyway. I know it believes me half the time, even though I've never lied to no one ever. You're starting moving back to that.
Oh, you never lied to no one.
Won't you limp out to the car and see if in my floorboard, if they look, there's a couple nugs in it. Because I spilled it out of that little thing yesterday in my lap. Go to work! I'm not a baby.
Colleagues marched in front of the cameras, looked down at their shoes, dutifully reversed their positions.
Leave that door open. This is good. Maybe I get some better lighting.
It's not this. In the American people do get an election year voice regarding a vacancy on the Supreme Court, but they don't. In 2016, Senator McConnell said, give them a voice. Now he says, don't give us.
For you, Antifa.
It was a shameless, self-serving
Hear me?
reversal. Why are Senate Republicans so afraid?
Come knock on my door.
First, they must not.
You let me get a swing or two.
Second, they want 6-3 Supreme Court.
You'll be bleeding out your eyes and nose and butthole too. Antifa, come and knock on my door. I got machete for you.
On the Supreme
Choppy
Court,
to bits and pieces. Proud Boys coming for you.
especially over mail-in balloting, which he was repeatedly attacked without any substance. President Trump
Tell them our Senator Durbin,
have a close election decided by a
900-year-olds,
Supreme Court.
they are be outlaws. They can't be in the Senate for life. That's just bullshit.
We know that date well on this committee. That's the date.
I think you shouldn't be able to serve in politics over a career of, let's say, 10 years max. If you're in politics, any kind of House, delegate, Senate, no matter what, after 10 years, you're done. You better hurry up and run for president.
Pre-existing conditions. It's unimaginable that in the midst of a pandemic.
But we really don't elect politicians anymore. We elect popular votes, like we did Reagan. And believe it or not, Obama was just a populist vote. And Donald Trump was a populist vote because he was on The Apprentice, and he literally for 3 years showed me how he was going to run America. He was going to run America like he ran the show Apprentice and ran it as a business. I can't wait till he gets to look at Nancy Pelosi and say, "You're fired." That's going to be so great.
We know he thinks because he tells us what he thinks.
Dom, I have to go, doctor, after this football game tonight. His foot's still swelling.
How many times have we heard it? How many times have we heard his criticism of Chief Justice Roberts?
What you cry about, you liberals?
Obamacare. When he was running for president, then candidate Trump tweeted, quote, "If I win the presidency, my judicial appointments will do the right thing, unlike Bush's appointee John Roberts on Obamacare." Think of what it mean if the Republicans wish to strike this down. All the people who have used their coverage, which we have heard recounted repeatedly this morning, and will hear even more.
He's full of shit.
Republicans in Congress have been obsessed.
Trump already said he's 100.
But they don't have the
No matter what he does, pre-existing injuries, they're bringing on bullshit. I heard him out of his mouth himself. That guy's lying. No.
Judge Barret, you're on the record. You wrote an article in which you criticized the NFIB versus Sebelius case, where Chief Justice Roberts was the deciding vote upholding the ACA. Now your nomination is moving forward at unprecedented speed. So what's at stake?
Just show of hands, you bunch of dummies. You know you're going to lose. You know what I mean? That's all they're doing is buying time. Look at what they're doing. Look here, sob stories. They're trying to talk her out of not accepting it. A family if got hit by a train or something, or blaming it on Trump.
Kennedy had 2 open heart surgeries at Advocate Children's Hospital outside of Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
He had surgery for the 3rd time at 14 months of age.
They shouldn't have been standing out in front of a train.
He was staying in the pediatric ICU, and his health bills had reached $1 million. When Kenny was born in November 2013,
I gotta tell you why they keep crying on about this. We'll get back to voting here in a second. Hopefully they'll get the voting here in a second.
They and insurance companies are imposing these annual lifetime limits, including that ban went into place in January 2013. 6 days after the Chinese for surgery.
That's not my
Whoever the ACA sued and canceled the lifetime limit. They told me they would have gone bankrupt. Thanks to the affordable
This one, Chad.
Kenny was able to get care he needed. This last picture, I'm sure that, here it is. Would you want him on your team? I sure would. But she gave permission for me to share Kenny's story today. His mom's. Kenny is a real person whose life depends on the affordable care. Judge Barret, your nomination for a lifetime appointment to the highest court in the land comes before us under a cloud. You have been nominated by a president who shows contempt for the Constitution, but does not hesitate to tell his loyal followers that you are being sent to the bench to do his political chores. Abolish the ACA. Do let us stay running the election practice. And even more. You cannot feel good about the president achieving this historic moment.
What's he doing? He's just trying to kill her.
So many other issues.
They're all trying to kill her. Oh, damn, we got a new one.
Work. These are the states. Wait just a few more days to know what the American people have to say.
I know a few more days.
Yeah, they wanna wait till after the election.
No, election ain't a few days. It's a few weeks, you idiot.
Welcome, Judge Barret. Welcome to your house.
Some people's already voting.
Judge Barret, you and I have a number of things.
Democrats is gonna pay people to
Raised in large families.
vote.
Both one of
And
seven
Omar, she's done got all her votes in. I seen that guy packing around in the car going, look at this, I got all the guys, I get $3,000
Also, the de facto mother to many others. The way things often work.
from Omar, from Somalia.
Very often takes on.
I was wondering how them crooks got in
Those
office.
responsibilities of
Bow harvesting. Brought all them people over here from Nigeria. Like we just thought she was helping out Nigerians. No, she was bringing in people to vote for her. That's what she was doing. She put them in that housing and shit in that place just so they vote for her.
In the executive branch or in the legislative branch.
Tricked us, America. We gotta trick her and vote her and AOC plus 3 out of there.
Many of them geared toward actual policy. Actual pieces of legislation.
Sounds like Ted Cruz.
We have to remember we've got 3 distinct branches of government within our system. We've got 2 that are political. The legislative branch, where we make law. The executive branch, headed by the president, where the laws are executed, implemented. And of course, the judicial branch, where you work, where the judge are interpreted.
Mr.
People
Lee.
come to disagreement as to their meaning.
I guess Senator Lee.
The branches are sometimes referred to as equal. I don't think this is the best description of them. I think the best description of them is that they're coordinate branches of government. Meaning they each exist within their own sphere. Yes. They're not equal in the sense that the least dangerous branch is, always has been, and always will be the judicial branch. For the simple reason, you can't reach out. You can't decide where we're going to go today or tomorrow. The judiciary is confined solely to those cases and controversies.
So I'll be in the back. I'll put it.
Your jurisdiction. You look not into the future,
I'll let her ride
but in
a
the
sprint.
past. You see the world, as it were, through a rear-view mirror. Your job is to decide what the law says. When people disagree as to the law's meaning, those laws consist of words. Those words used in a particular combination, in a particular context, at a particular meeting on the day of their enactment or their incorporation into the Constitution, and that's your job. And yet, watching today's hearing, some of the statements made by some of my colleagues, in fact, you were looking at
the girls look good. So
countless
good the other
put
day.
up.
I'm gonna wear my gray hoodie tonight.
Political discussion, policy discussion, legislative discussion. You in fact are not being reviewed.
We're away or something like
Or policy-making position.
Yeah.
You're being reviewed for a position.
even though we're supposed to wear white at
You'll be asked
home.
from time to time to decide cases based on the law, based on facts.
I wish we,
This is
but
not
instead we wear
that
the black at home because they're the best looking uniforms.
Yeah.
They're the best looking uniforms. So we got the best looking uniforms in high school, junior high, college. They're right up there with the Cowboys. They're as pretty as the Cowboys uniforms.
I'm certain just based on.
Yeah, here, let me show you what.
This is her way.
When you live in the Ville,
This isn't the question, nor is
when
this
you live in the Ville, this is the kind of jersey you get.
as to any
What
particular
is it? $1,500 for each kid on jersey, shoes, and jerseys and pants and stuff.
As a judge on the U.S. Court of Appeals, Seventh Circuit, where
I
you now sit.
spent alone
Well, we-
out of pocket this year about $5.
Well, I know we spent cleats.
$100 cleats.
So far.
I just
Supreme
spent
Court of the United States.
25 on them arm protectors.
Bitter,
Um,
cynical,
I've
and
done,
overwhelmingly partisan place. It is
I
not.
bought an extra pair of pants because they never have the right pants. You know that.
Know that. You actually look at the numbers,
I bought
you'll see something remarkable.
I wish you just didn't have to play both sides of the ball.
Despite the fact
his
that
water
it sometimes
bottle, his,
makes mistakes.
well, he was playing big business.
The Supreme Court of the United States sits atop something that
Come
is
back
the
where
image
he's work.
of the entire.
Why?
Yeah. All right.
Tigers, you've got your field gear on.
I'm not wearing mine. The boxes, but yeah,
that has ever existed on planet Earth.
a black one.
One of the many ways in which this is manifested is you look at the 9 members of
Oh
the Supreme
man, it's too
Court.
good
They
looking
come
over
from
there.
different
That first one there,
backgrounds,
not
different
that one.
different
The other one's better looking.
They've come at it with somewhat different
Turn around.
philosophies.
Yeah.
To the
Harder
extent
man, this is
Yeah.
back.
their political
So
leanings
should I
might
wear
be,
the one I got on or should I switch into these?
they
Switch into the
indicate
black one.
that they come from different political backgrounds.
Listen
The most
to,
common configuration
That's
of the
really
Supreme Court decision is not 5-4, not even 6-3. It's in fact 9-0, 8-1, and 7-2 make up the vast, overwhelming majority of all Supreme Court decisions. Now, this is especially remarkable when you consider the fact that the Supreme Court typically takes up only those cases, those rare cases, as to which lower courts have been unable to reach an agreement when interpreting the same finite provisions of federal law, a federal statute, or a provision of the United States Constitution. Multiple lower courts, very smart men and women,
yeah, we Supreme Court, and they're the ultimate law. Yeah.
as to the meaning.
They set the president to the law. There you go. Thank you, Amy, for taking that damn mask off. You're not a Democrat.
And yet, the Supreme Court overwhelmingly decides those cases either unanimously.
Well, she's pretty and she's staying calm.
And without these,
She ain't know why she's had no 7 kids.
one from watching this hearing with
She got
think it's
ball
the bread
cut
and butter
kids.
of the Supreme Court's work. The 5-4 configuration is actually
Ah,
relatively
she's putting
rare.
a stupid Wu Flu
When it
mask
does
on.
arise, it's not even always involving a hot button political issue. Most of this is
Well, everybody in that little room there.
a lot of it consists of stuff.
It's a virus, not a pandemic.
Fascinating, like the
Think we're so
Torah.
good.
I mean, what American doesn't sit up late at night and stew over whether it's okay for
No,
or a political
the
subdivision
black
thereof
turkey is
to create
pulled out.
a
That's the
public
best way to
difference
shut
based on its
it down.
origin or destination out of state or outside the United States. This, of course, is the kind of case.
Actually, our hoodies that were
I'll wear that.
given to us for contributing to the program, the unofficial Tiger gear. We can get up the, yeah, baby. I'll have that on.
Thank you, Chapel High School.
Thank you in the bill.
We appreciate that.
You guys didn't have to do that. You didn't have to do it,
It was nice.
but we thank you anyway. This isn't a team. This is a family.
We don't
Oh.
help out because
And Coach, thank you for giving this to us. And our son will be in your hands next year.
Might exert in that context.
So we're family, baby. We're gonna be rocking this for the next 4 years together. Oh, well, after this year, he goes into high school. Hey, Steph, you want to come over and make a cameo real quick?
Ladies like that.
I know a bunch would. Now spin it around real quick. Turn around.
Or the other way around. Other countries might use the wrong branch of government.
Austin.
Austin, you down, Daddy.
Did you hear him farting?
They went about it the wrong
You
way.
down, Daddy. Come on.
Oh, he's fine. That's my boy.
Another way around a particular policy concern. Whether we are talking about healthcare, whether we're talking about privacy and individual liberty, each and every person serving
They're brand new too because they grew out of them so quick.
has an obligation.
Oh, where's that?
Go ahead.
Where's somewhere?
In fact, each and every
I got some something putting over around. I guess I'm going to do something and put on that foot. So I don't want it to get up there and freezing to death. I cannot get a shoe on it.
Not butter, you can wear his old brace and you put a sock on it there.
I can't get it. Brace with a brace on. That hurts like hell.
Developed under the greatest civilization the world has ever known. It's not just
There's your devil box phone going off. See, I don't deal with the devil box.
and works the best when every one of us reads it, understands it,
Oh, I ain't saying it right
honors an oath to uphold it
there. We're all family.
and defend it. When we do our jobs, in this branch.
Warren Matheson's gonna have a
When
concession
our friends of
stand.
the executive branch do their jobs, it requires us to follow.
Them Jayhawks or Skyhawks, you better have,
No, they're not Skyhawks. Middle school is,
Breeding fear and
man.
uncertainty.
high school is Skyhawks. Middle school,
These
Jayhawks.
result
yeah,
in
something
relentless
Shithawks.
protests
No, some
outside of the
shithawks.
one branch of government that isn't political. Astounding that they dismay me and they disappoint me. It reflects the fact that we have allowed for the politicization of the one branch of the federal government.
the
that is not political.
politicization. You can't even say the word.
We can turn that around.
Quit crying, Mr. Lee. It don't matter. Everybody knows it's going through. She's gonna get on there unless y'all kill her.
I focus
You know you can't vote her out. The American people know she's going. We got the vote. She's got the vote. This is just
It's also an
this is just what do they call that?
American thing. One of the many reasons why I will
Well,
object to
what they call it when they do something like that, knowing damn good and well it ain't gonna
and hold you to that. You're not a
stop her
policymaker.
from becoming.
You're a judge. That's what we're here to discuss.
I got a word, but
Well, definitely some good news. Senator Lee's enthusiasm for the dormant commerce clause convinces me it made a full recovery. Senator Whitehouse. Chairman, Judge Barrett,
get to the damn vote.
America's worried
Oh, it ain't coming
about
in.
one thing above all else right now.
They all get a chance.
It's our health.
Oh, there's 15 more of
Sure
them.
yourself.
I like Mr. Whitehouse.
Trump.
Yeah.
Look at the big thing of hand sanitizer he's got. He's like me.
The COVID pandemic.
Don't get me a shot. See now,
Can't
Mr. Whitehouse.
the White House safe. Here it's the chairman's job to see to the committee's safety. And though his,
You can tell he's Republican. He ain't got a mask.
I don't know, who has been
Not on
tested,
the table, nowhere near
who
him.
should be tested, who is a danger,
Yeah.
what contact tracing has been done on infected and exposed senators
And what good has it done? None. I told him.
The whole thing, just like Trump, is an irresponsible bias.
Oh God, no, another Trump favor.
Is that this slapdash hearing targets the Affordable Care Act.
No, it don't. It has nothing to do with the Affordable Care Act. Zero.
Because they want.
No, she has never said that she's
Not
against it.
her, him, Trump.
And
Well, so
that the president,
it ain't got nothing to do with a judge
the ACA,
getting into office.
the big secretive influences behind the vaccine rush see this nominee as a judicial torpedo they are firing at the ACA.
Mom and them say
So I
they should
hope
be back
Republicans
by
consider this a
time to
statement
make it to the
for the
game.
many people who
I
depend
think they're
right
going to
now
travel.
in this pandemic on ACA health coverage. Rhode Islanders are calling, writing, emailing, tweeting me by the thousands.
Reading and crying.
Asking me if they know
Please say no.
this nominee, mostly because they too see her as a judicial torpedo aimed at their official
They
protection.
gotta vote.
Yeah, they're asking him to vote
They're trying
no.
to get people to vote against it.
Yeah, he's voting no. That one jackass of ours voting no. I know two no's.
Business owners who are driving this process.
Too bad there ain't enough of them, and they know it. This is just, oh, what's that word? This is
Here's
just,
one person to consider. Laura. From North
this
Smithfield,
is,
Rhode Island.
come on, somebody in the chat, help me out. This is just for
When he donated
eyes,
his
for,
kidneys.
this is just,
The hereditary nephritis.
it's meaningless. It's
Was a pre-existing.
like a step you gotta take,
condition
but you really don't need to take the step, but you have to
Like
do it
COVID,
anyway.
now, pre-existing condition on nearly 8 million Americans. Laura tells me, without the ACA and its protections for people with
I'll quit.
pre-existing conditions.
Somebody hit me up in the chat
insurance
when
premiums,
you
if
figure out what
they
word
get
I'm
insurance
looking
at
for.
all, will be financially out of reach.
This is a mockery,
No
but that's not the word I'm
longer
looking for.
health monitoring, labs.
This is a mockery of our judicial
and
system.
treatment that are essential for my kidney to function. My immunosuppressive medications alone would cost about $48,000 annually.
He's reading a piece of paper. He's representing one person out of a billion.
Experience.
Look, she ain't gonna take that away, bro.
Not in treatment. 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 Not in tre
but in the annual or lifetime caps on coverage insurers were allowed to impose. I can't imagine what this would have meant for me. Bankruptcy or worse. Laura's not alone. We're in the midst of a relentless
Bankruptcy or worse. What bullshit.
Which touches nearly everyone in this country.
Trump's going to take care of it. He's already, if he had done paid us a big bunch of cash, and cocksuckers wouldn't be holding the people hostage.
All the desperate pleas for help. People on the front line. Healthcare workers.
Trump said right for rip, he'd send out a stimulus bill if they want to make a stimulus bill just for the people that he would sign. Then they could do another one with all their other bullshit that they want in it and do a different bill after that. They know their stupid bill won't pass unless they hold the American people hostage. They're blackmailing our government and our people.
Relief bills to tackle unemployment insurance, aid to the front lines.
Like me, if I got my check, I'd be able to
localities and plenty more.
Afford a new host for
no urgency.
The night show. Well, Jace Ray, he's going to be covering rugby for us at nighttime because it's daytime in Australia. So we're international.
The White House chose a replacement 3 days.
We'll be covering rugby, soccer, koalas, and kangaroos.
When the president
celebrated 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 hours. She's dead. What does it matter? How soon he keeps her replacement? That's his job. That's part of his duty.
When they block
that's the problem nowadays. Nobody wants to do their fucking job. Teachers don't want to do their job.
Some teachers, not all. Some, not all.
Well, I'm aggravated with teachers around here because they all want to sit and bitch about it. Athletes.
Have you heard a substitute teacher?
If I have one more teacher.
Have you had a substitute teacher complain yet?
No, but if I have one more teacher
that's
tell
because they're wanting the damn job.
Athlete parents don't care about our kids because all we care about
I'm
is
not an athlete parent.
Listen, my kid is a 4.0 student.
My son is a student
athlete, and my son wants to be in school.
Like he wouldn't even be playing sports if he didn't have an A average. If he had all B's, a bunch of B's, he wouldn't even be on football, basketball. He wouldn't have PlayStation. It's academics. I would rather see my son get an academic scholarship over an athletic scholarship.
ACA precedent are clear enough to move her to the top. Just 3 years ago, she wrote that Chief Justice Roberts pushed the Affordable Care Act beyond its political meaning to save a statute. In 2013, she wrote that cites it as not a hard and fact rule in the court's constitutional cases, the ACA being your constitutional case. Clear signals that are likely for this committee now. So back to Laura. Stories like Laura's coming in from
I didn't say that.
Well, the answer isn't pretty. There's a promise to big donors that must be kept. When David Koch ran for vice president, he campaigned on getting rid of Medicare and Medicaid. Imagine
it's up to you. You can get the day off. You can take it. You know. Don't worry about my bills
right now on this. Republicans in Congress tried and failed to repeal the ACA more than 70 times.
Believe
in the
when
Republican Party platform
smoke
for justices to reverse the ACA decision. Trump has over and over said this is the
family.
And now we're in this mad rush to meet the November 10th argument deadline. And colleagues pretend this isn't about the ACA. Right.
Shut up, buddy. It ain't about the ACA.
Leads to one senator's doorstep.
It has nothing to do with none of that. Affordable Care Act, raising taxes, that's got nothing to do with this woman.
But look at the record. The district judge in Texas who struck down.
Why are they drawing it out so long?
For the court as a former aide to the Senate.
Just so they can cry about how
the Texas Tribune called his favorite.
Trump, orange man bad for doing it.
Like torpedoing the ACA. The senior senator from Texas introduced in committee.
It's Trump's job to do this. What would you do, man? What would that guy?
If he didn't do his job, they'd be complaining about it.
Yeah, like in fact, that guy's job was to get up and come in here this morning, right, and vote, right? what would have happened to him if he wouldn't have showed up? He'd have got fired. Maybe, probably not.
To repeal or defund Obamacare and voted.
But you and I are supposed to be somewhere. We get fired if we don't go to work. Well, most of us.
Senator Cornyn and all of our colleagues on this committee are pushing
I'm
legislation.
hard enough for him.
Oh man, you just like JT. You bring sexy back.
About the Affordable Care Act. From Cornyn judge to Cornyn judge to this
There we
nominee.
go, so I don't know how that act. Bring fool around, I have a heart attack.
Most in this
Yes, ma'am.
of the rush is the legacy of Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Better than bologna and cheese.
I remember her for a minute.
Alright, I'm going off to work.
She fought for equality, equity.
All right, Don.
She forged a path
I
for
will
women
see you.
to Harvard Law School, pinnacle of
All right, baby
academia,
Bill.
to the apex of legal advocacy, and to the Supreme Court.
We'll see you in a little bit, dude.
You don't use that name. That was my grandfather's.
I thought of it.
No,
Voted
my grandfather.
He thought of it first. I thought of
Rights
it.
of immigrants
Yeah, I didn't get it from you. I never met the man.
and countless other
You
freedoms.
just look like a dude he
In her
does.
work, she met the
Check
odds.
out Baba Booey and our crashed out.
All Americans. How fitting that she should be the
Big
first woman.
Siamese, maybe.
I don't know if there'll be contention tonight. Probably not.
Ah, we'll take her own food, buy food, something we'll figure it out.
See what's going on. They see.
My foot hurts.
Especially
I like it.
power grab, and they know.
I'll see you when I get home from work.
Yeah, for as soon as you can get a hold
Yeah,
of it.
you know.
For Republicans, there is
If you
no
need
washing your
me,
hands
Oh,
I guess,
responsibility.
give me a minute.
I need you.
That
I can't send you a message. You need me. If I need you, you ought to check up on my live video and make
Yeah,
comments.
I guess it's send me a live video saying you need to.
virtually that.
No, I'm live right now. Just
No,
check
I
in
know
on
what
it.
I'm saying. You ain't gonna be, when do they get on?
Thank you,
Turn it
Mr.
on.
Chairman.
Turn
Good
it on.
morning. Welcome to Judge Barrett.
I got shitty lighting.
We don't know that. I'll see you when I get home.
All right, hurry up.
You know, I want to start by making.
There's Ted Cruz. Now we got Uncle Ted in the house. Uncle Ted in the house.
Sherlock Holmes famously observed,
Sherlock Holmes reference.
what speaks the loudest is the dog that didn't bark. Which is, to date, of every Democrat who's
Ooh, I like it.
we've heard virtually not a single
What
word.
speaks the loudest? The dog that didn't bark.
We've
Yep.
heard a lot of attacks at
That's
President
'cause he
Trump.
bit your
Our
ass.
Democratic colleagues are not supporters of the president. We've heard a lot of political rhetoric. We just heard the senator from Rhode Island.
Oh, so Ted Cruz is over his whole shit show here. All right. Smack him around, Ted.
Those political attacks
I
are not
love Ted
surprising.
Cruz.
But we've heard very little about the nominee who is here.
Exactly.
And whose confirmation we're considering.
I've heard about everything
Part of the
else.
reason for that is
Everybody
you know,
dying off
many
left and right.
Judge Barrett's credentials are impeccable.
Impeccable. Oh.
This is a woman who graduated number one in her class.
Number one in her class, unlike Joe Biden who
I
finished,
venture to say that
what
there
was
is
it,
likely not a single member of this committee who
138
graduated number one.
out of
Perhaps my colleague Mike Lee can
149, I think.
It is a
11,
very
he graduated in the bottom
Judge
11
Barrett
of his
went on
class.
to be a clerk to the great Justice Antonin Scalia, one of the greatest justices ever to serve on the Supreme Court.
Never heard of him.
We heard celebration from Senator Leahy about the fact that he
I trust him, though.
98 to nothing.
He's Republican.
From there, she became a law professor for 2 decades at Notre Dame Law School, teaching
Notre Dame.
for students where she was beloved,
Fred the Freak.
where she was respected, where she was a
To all my clients out there and family,
And now she
Fred
is
the
one of the
Freak.
most respected federal court of appeals judges in the country.
Alex.
Well, none of the discussions from our Democratic colleagues addressed any of that,
Ah,
because those impeccable.
Alex ain't got you a name yet, but
those
Fred the Freak,
are on their face.
Chaco,
Indeed,
Big James
the American Bar
Stevenson.
Association, which
I will be
typically
rolling out YouTube
has
videos
had
and everything
favoring
to
Democratic nominees over nominees appointed by
Ohio State, Notre Dame,
There's no choice but
my three choices for my clients is going to be Notre Dame, well, Ohio State, Notre Dame, and the U.
Served as an excellent Supreme Court justice. So what is it our Democratic friends have focused on? Well, one thing they
Kobe, you're killing me.
And they
It's
claim
the
the
Chad
fact
and
that
Kobe
this
show.
nomination is occurring at all is illegitimate.
Starring
Doesn't matter
Kobe.
who Judge Barrett
Get the hell
is,
down.
Doesn't matter what she's done, doesn't matter her record, doesn't matter
No, it don't.
her extraordinary family story of doing all of this while
Tell 'em, Ted.
7 kids.
Get mad. You tell them,
The
Ted.
timing of the nomination, our Democratic friends tell us, makes it illegitimate.
Don't.
Well, except for that history does not accurately
Try to steal my billfold, Kobe.
the Senate has done over 2 centuries. This question of what happens when there's a Supreme Court vacancy during a presidential election year, 2020 is not the first time America has faced that question.
I'm doing my phone, Kobe.
Indeed, in our
Let's
country's
see if they
history,
put me
that
back
question
on
has come up
Facebook.
over 20
That way I can
years.
advertise my
So
YouTube
29
channel.
times,
Not
presidents
make
have
me new
faced the same
profile. Get up!
and presidents have
Are you sitting on my phone? Just let me know.
all 29 times, 100%. It doesn't matter if you're a Democrat or Republican. From a president's perspective, it's easy.
You're an American.
Vacancy, even during a presidential election year, you make a nomination. 44 individuals have served as presidents throughout the history of our country. Half of them, 22 of the presidents we have had, have made Supreme Court nominations for vacancies that occurred during a presidential election year.
And here he is
But
again.
what has the Senate done?
Obi-Wan Kobe.
Precedent is quite clear, and is something that our Democratic friends do not want.
There we go. You can see me a little bit better now. The 87 people watching live right now. I'm watching Right Side TV. If that answers your question.
On the other hand,
No, it's not a television station. It's on YouTube. Go to YouTube and type in Right Side Media. Okay? That's where I'm watching the nominations from. That's where I watch all the debates from. Right Side. Just type in Right Side and you should come up on Ted Cruz, the big pointy nose.
That is, of course, what happened
Let's listen.
with Judge Garland, nominated by President Obama. President Obama was a Democrat, the Senate was in Republican hands, and following tradition of 200 years, the Senate did not confirm that nomination.
Right.
Now, some might think the difference between whether the Senate and the President are the same party or different party, that's just a question of partisan alignment, of partisan power. But that actually misunderstands the constitutional structure. The framers of the Constitution deliberately set up a system of checks and balances so that nobody can become a Supreme Court nominee without both the President and the Senate. Each was designed to check the other. That system of checks and balances limits power ultimately and protects the voters. And indeed, the voters made a clear choice. You know, one of the things that is clear from this discussion this morning is Democrats and Republicans had fundamentally different visions of the truth.
To download your file, please access Facebook on your web browser. Okay.
Democratic senators use the court
Let's see if I can
as a
do that.
super legislature, as a policy-making body, as a body that will decree outcomes to the American people.
Your account has been disabled. Imagine that. I wonder who done that. Rat pack.
It's a curious way to want to run a country. Even if on any particular policy issue you might happen to agree with whatever a majority of the court is on any given day. Who in their right mind would want the United States of America ruled by 5 unelected?
Let's see if my other account. What's it do? Hey!
It's hard to
They
think
didn't
of
disable
a
it.
democratic notion than unelected philosopher kings with
See what the heck you guys have been up to.
decreeing rules for 330 million Americans. That is not, in fact, the court's job. The court's job is to decide cases according to the law. and to lead policymaking.
And bad on this.
That doesn't mean policymaking is
Hey,
unintentional.
at least I
It
can,
means the contrary.
now I
Policymaking
can
is very important.
peek in on you, turd,
And
see
the
what
people
you're
need
doing.
to have a direct check on policymaking. You know what? If a rogue court implements policies you don't like, you, the American people, have very limited ability to check. If a rogue Congress implements policies you don't like, you have a direct ability to check us by throwing the bums out and voting them out and voting in new representatives. You know, much of the argument this morning has concerned Obamacare. And they've been policy arguments. And policy arguments that are actually occurring in the Senate, which is the right place for them to occur, a legislative body.
Here are the rules I have broken.
Colleagues simply want a promise from a judicial nominee that this nominee will work to
Now I'm
implement
still
their
doing 30
policies.
days. Come on.
That is not a judge's job. That is not the responsibility of a judge.
Harassment.
In fact, making that promise would be
Harassment on this chick. This chick right here. Anybody knows who that is?
on healthcare.
She's a snitch. Go roast her ass. Anybody knows who she is, roast that ass. Snitch, bitch.
Many of our colleagues talked about pre-existing conditions.
Harassment, bullying, harassment, bullying, harassment, bullying, harassment, bullying.
Well, remember this.
Lord, you
Every
snowflake.
single member of the Senate agrees that pre-existing conditions can and should be protected. Period.
Britt
There is
Smith commented.
unanimity on this. Now, it so happens that there are a number of us on the Republican side that
Oh, Jay Rivera posted that freaking Pat Mahomes was garbage.
Premiums have risen over $5,000 a year. Millions of Americans can't afford health care because of the policy.
Britt Smith says, I don't know y'all have an argument against LeBron, but he is the man. Oh, I disagree. I so disagree, Britt Smith. Every team he has gone to has won a championship. Yeah, that's because he brings in, it goes to Miami with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh and Kevin Love. Then he comes back to Cleveland with Kyrie Irving, Kevin Love. And then he goes to the Lakers, didn't do shit, didn't even make the playoffs by himself. And then brought in Anthony Davis. So, okay, Britt. Britt, can you tell me a time he won a championship without a Kyrie or a AD? You can't.
This is also the body that's consistent with
My man Rosondo De La Cruz says, when Jordan won, there wasn't many strong teams, only two, Knicks and Jazz. Remember, the bad boys roughed him up at the start. It went shit when Bill Laimbeer was throwing in big elbows on him.
This committee is gathered today for what I consider one of its most solemn duties and one that I...
Can we all just agree that Kobe Bryant is the GOAT? Man, he left it all on the court. He didn't quit and go play baseball.
We make promises to do justice, to tell the truth. At its core, that's what judges do, right? Figure out the truth, figure out justice. My mom, a second grade teacher, spent her life teaching little kids what was right or wrong, what was true or false.
Well, damn, y'all invited me to join a bunch of groups. Come on, get to the woman here that's going to get nominated. This is such bullshit. This is just a... I found the word. I found the word. This is just a not format. This is just a...
And that then the people choose the president, and the president chooses the nominee. That was your precedent. It has been said that the wheels of justice turn slowly.
This is just
Justice, on the other hand, can move at lightning speed, as we are seeing here today. We cannot, and you watching
still can't come up with that word.
Separate this hearing from the moment we are in and from the
No.
judge who is trying to rush through.
No, it's not. I disagree with the chat, and you are getting the banhammer. I have never banhammered anyone in the chat, but you have just received it, pal. You do not talk about ladies that way. If anyone is racist in my comments,
Decisions you can make about your own body. And yes, your host here.
all my moderators and admin will probably do
We
something.
have a president who has refused to commit to a peaceful
Me, myself,
of power after an election.
I don't discriminate. I'm not censoring no one. I don't care if you're racist. Other people's racist out there too. I will not censor. We're not here to censor. We're not Zuck. I am not Barbara Gross, Jennifer Bercoli, Angela Hammond, and what?
And he has the gall to hold up a Bible as a prop in front of the church instead of feeding
Wah.
to act justly.
I love listening to them cry. Listen to her. You dream of church, people dying. It's a shame Trump only go to church. Oh, that's terrible. Oh, I got my man Jay Penjoya says the bronzexuals are going to be intolerable for like 4 months. But the only negative of my Lakers winning at that title is because of LeBron, because it's flooded with LeBron bullshit. Jay, I'm happy Lakers won. As you know, I got all the Kobe jerseys. So I'm not a Laker fan, but I definitely am not a LeBron fan because his political views are radical. He believes in Marxism. He believes that there shouldn't be a mother in the home raising a kid. He don't believe that there should be a form of government. He doesn't believe there should be cops in the street. Actually, when they asked him to match donations to the 2 cops that were shot, like right around I won't say the Forum, but I think it's the Forum nowhere. Somewhere right close to the Coliseum where LeBron plays, the 2 officers that was ambushed by a black guy. 2 days later, after LeBron had said, will you match the donation? It's only $150,000. That's like $1 to LeBron. They said, LeBron, would you match our donations to help find the criminal that shot the 2 police that snuck up on 2 police? My English is silly, very sorry. The 2 police officers that snuck up, the guy that snuck up on those 2 snuck up on those 2 police officers and executed them from behind. They asked LeBron, would you match the donation of $150? What do you think LeBron's response is? Let's see what you guys have to say in the chat. And I'll tell you what LeBron did. That's right. That's right. He should have matched the donation and added another $1 million to it just to bring publicity to it so they could get that guy turned in quicker. When LeBron James came out and said no comment, that give condolences to the Crips and all the crazy people that's racist in the black community that's wanting to defund the police, inspired him to hunt the police, like LeBron said in his interview where police were hunting black people. This guy went out for LeBron and hunted police officers. Very true statement, Shane Seaton. Very true. If it wasn't for LeBron saying what he said, those 2 police officers would not have gotten shot. Good job, Shane, for being objective for once. Janet Carter posted in Facebook jail. Funniest group yet. I have never been, and I bet I am only one. That made like no sense. Granny Gross, welcome new members. Wait a minute, what happened to your guys' shit talkers group? Is it not doing so well? I bet Ashley's the only one doing any work in there. Just like sexy sports with the Chad, my other group.
America, this is about you.
I bet you Ashley's the only one in there doing work.
Identical twins from Cambridge, Minnesota. Honor roll student, star
Admin changed the name of Shit Talkers 2.0 to what?
They also play basketball. One of them got severe diabetes when she was
Not a real group.
Doesn't matter which one. The pitcher, the catcher.
Wow.
They get that with one stroke of a pen, one judge.
I thought this was my hackers group.
Their family
Used to warn, what's up with the other backup shit talkers you guys created? I know there's a billion shit talkers. Joe Singapore changed the name of Shit Talkers 2.0 to Not a Real Group.
This is a judgeship that was held by an icon.
Man, y'all give up that easily. Already down to only 98 members. Told you. If it's not for me, Shit Talkers dies. Told you, every one of your groups, you get a group, still my group, and then it dies. And everybody comes back to me every time. If you guys want to leave a comment, Kobe will read your comment out loud. For a super chat, $100, the dog will read it. Is that right? No. Damn Singapore, why did you change it, the damn name of the group for?
Women of America, we have come so far, and in the name of our
Hell, I'd rather rock with you all in this Shit Talkers 2.0 than them cocksuckers that stole the group. Oh, Broccoli's scared to come in here. Jennifer Broccoli and Limp Along Cassidy. Well, I can't say nothing. I'm limping today. Oh, shout out to NFL 32 Warzone with David Clark. He's got a group, good group.
Yes, Judge. I think this hearing is a sham. I think it shows real messed up priorities from
He's got a pick 'em going.
But I am here to do my job, to tell the truth. To all
That's
Americans,
David Clark in NFL 32 Team Warzone.
to stop them from rushing through a nominee. But we have a we have Americans who
And I'm not really so much feeling the
every
football.
day, believe in our country and the rule of law, whether they are Democrats.
Let's see if they destroyed my real Shit Talkers
They
group.
know what this president
Yeah.
and the Republican Party are doing right now is very wrong. In fact, 74% of Americans think we should be working on a COVID relief package right now instead of
I see the People's Temple of Chadstown still up.
I doubt
That's probably the next
really
Shit Talkers 2.0.
that's going to change this judge's trajectory this week. It is you.
Shit Talkers also.
It is you calling Republican senators and telling
I
them
mean-
it's enough. Telling them it is personal. Telling them they have their priorities wrong. So do it. And it is you voting even when they try to do everything to stop you. It is you making your own blueprint for the future instead of trying to lead.
Hey, looks like Joe Singapore, Britt Smith's getting along. Hey, they let my boy Joe Triano in there. I like that little liberal bastard.
Be Donald Trump's judge.
Let's see what we got in here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Senator Sanders.
Other than
Thank you,
myself.
Mr. Chairman. Judge Barret, welcome. Congratulations. Deputy Barret, congratulations. I just want to say, Senator Klobuchar said a number of things about COVID that I agree with.
How the Dolphins fans are going to sleep tonight.
Really
Don
interesting
Reynolds.
stories in Minnesota and similar stories across the country.
Good one, Uncle Don.
Criticism of the mismanagement of COVID by Washington.
Oh, congratulations, Joe Manx, with 11 wins in the pick'em.
What we're here to do today.
Congratulations.
Parts of what we're
Well,
doing
6 days ago, though.
would be
Wait a
really
minute. All these from that long ago?
and civic classes across the country tuned into this hearing and tried to figure out what we're here to do. And they heard as much as they've heard about 2009
But
Finance Committee debate.
my girl
what
asked,
should be in a healthcare reform package.
Ashley says, NFL fan base,
Committee, but also on the finance.
orange,
And lots of the
interested in their own team.
better in a finance
Black,
hearing than an
talks about the Dallas Cowboys nonstop. Yep, looks legit actually.
And remind ourselves and do some of our civic duty to 8th graders to help them realize what a president runs for, what a senator runs for, why this Barret is sitting before us today, and what the job is that you're being evaluated for. So if we can
even Mark Powers up in here. Hell, this is my whole shit talking crew. Well, you gotta talk to them there.
Watching country and especially watching.
Don't let this shit die out, ladies. Y'all don't fucking keep posting. It'll die just like the rest of them.
There was a time,
I got a thumbnail. I did a video on this. Find the thumbnail of that picture. Yep, and I made that my thumbnail. Wish I had these better pictures. I haven't seen the horror posting. That's who I was commenting. Joe Singer horror comments. How did he get his cleat on sideways though? Because dislocated his fucking foot.
Is we decided to forget what civics are and allow politics to swallow everything. So if I can start, I'd like to just remind us of the distinction between civics and politics.
Donald Gross says pussy. I mean, Donald Reynolds. Might as well be Donald Gross. We know that. Where's our pants in that relationship, Uncle Don? You let Granny Gross run all over you.
Congress writes laws. The executive branch enforces laws.
Some bullshit about Aaron Rodgers, no like.
If you're a Republican or a Democrat or a Libertarian or a Green Party member, this is
wow, breaking news of Jimmy Garoppolo.
That all Americans should agree on, like religious liberty is essential. People should be able to fire the folks who write the laws, and the voters can't fire the judges. Judges should be impartial. This is just
from Miami.
Politics is different. Politics is the stuff that happens underneath civics. Civics is the overarching stuff.
Here, 49ers fans, here's that. Hold this for me. A big L. Point right, Mr. Michael Kirschenbaum, and I'm on Mr. Joe Manning.
I say, listen up, Jack Wagon. What you want to do on this particular finance committee bill is going to be way too expensive and might bankrupt our kids. Or if Chris looks back at me and says, listen up, Jack Wagon, you're too much of a cheapskate and you're underinvesting in the next generation. That's a really important debate. That's a political.
Come on, get to it, people.
Civics is more important than that. Civics doesn't change every 18 to 24 months because the election.
Ashley had Seattle with 49 points, making her the winner.
Kids understand that politics is the legitimate.
Good job, Ashley.
And civics is the places where we pull back and say, wait a minute, we have things that are in common, and before we fight again about
good
politics,
job.
let's reaffirm some of our civics. So I'd like to have just sort of a basic grammar of civics for 5 minutes.
NFL shit talk, bring it.
Things that we should all disagree
Yeah.
we should agree on it.
NFL shit talkers too. They won't let me in shit talkers 2.0. Shit talkers all stars.
Positive, grand, unifying truth about America, and that is religious liberty.
God, how many shit talkers groups they got me in?
How you worship is none of the government's business. Government can wage wars. Government can write parking tickets, but government.
My best to you guys. I wish you nothing but the best on your group endeavors.
Parking tickets are important.
Because I'm out of the Facebook game. Y'all can have this
So whether you worship in a
Facebook bullshit. I'll hang on to
your
my.
faith or your lack of faith is none of the government's business.
I'll hang on to
It's your
my
business and your families and your neighbors and all sorts of places
YouTube
where people
channel.
break bread together and argue. But it's not about power. It's not about force. It's not about the government. This is the
Because like every account I got, you guys turn in. Rat Pack must be watching.
First Amendment. Religion, speech, press, assembly, and protest. These 5 freedoms that hang together, that are the basic pre-governmental rights, are sort of civics 101 that we all agree on well before we ever get to anything as relatively inconsequential as tax policy. So civics should be the stuff we affirm together. And contrary to the belief of some activists, religious liberty is not an exception. You don't need the government's permission to have religious liberty. Religious liberty is the default assumption of our entire system. And because religious liberty is the fundamental 101 rule in American life, we don't have religious tests. This committee isn't in the business of deciding whether the dogma lives too loudly within someone. This committee isn't in the business of deciding which religious beliefs are good and which religious beliefs are bad and which religious beliefs are weird. And I just want to say, as somebody who's really weird beliefs. Forgiveness of sins, the virgin birth, resurrection from the dead, eternal life. There are a whole bunch of really, really crazy ideas that are a lot weirder than some Catholic moms giving each other advice about parenting. And yet there are places where this committee has acted like it's the job of the committee to delve into people's religious communities. That's the violation of our basic civics. That's a violation of what all of us believe together. This is not a Republican idea. It is not a Democrat idea. It's a Democrat idea and a Republican idea, but more fundamentally, it's an American idea. And the good news is, whether you think your religious beliefs might be judged wacky by someone else, it's none of the business of this committee to delve into any of that in this context. Because in this committee, and in this Congress, and in this constitutional structure, religious liberty is the basic truth. And whatever you or I or Judge Barret believe about God isn't any of the government's business. We can all believe in that in common. We should all reaffirm that in common, and that should be on display over the course of the next 4 days in this committee. Now, a couple of terms that all of our 8th graders should know as things we should reject in common. And again, shared rejection, not Republican versus Democrat or Democrat versus Republican, but a shared American rejection. And the first is this: judicial activism. Judicial activism is the idea that judges get to advocate.
Coming in hot, guys. No
policy,
Facebook account.
even though they don't have to stand for election before the voters, and even though they have lifetime tenure. Judicial activism is the really bad idea that tries to convince the American people to view the judiciary as a block of progressive votes and conservative votes, Republican justices and Democratic justices. This is the confused idea that the Supreme Court is just another arena for politics. When politicians try to demand that judicial nominees, who are supposed to be fair and impartial, when politicians try to get judicial nominees to give their views on cases or to give their views on policies, to try to get them to pre-commit to certain outcomes in future court.
Quit crying, buddy. Your name's Sass. Mr. Sass.
It is a violation of our oath to the Constitution. Likewise, when politicians
Should have been Mr. Cry Ass.
pretty basic question of whether or not they want to try to change the number of justices in the court, which is what court packing actually is. When they want to try to change the outcome of what courts do in the future by trying to change the size and composition of the court, that is a bad idea that politicizes the judiciary and reduces public trust. On the other hand, depoliticizing the court looks a lot like letting courts and judges do their jobs and the Congress do our jobs. You don't like the policies in America? Great, elect different people in the House and in the Senate and in the presidency. Fire the politicians at the next election. But voters' freedom to fire the judges, therefore, we should not view judges and we should not encourage judges or the public to view them as ultimately politicians who hide behind their robes.
We don't, dummy. You're trying to make us out as pure at way.
Originalism, also known as textualism, is basically the old idea from 8th grade civics that judges don't get to make laws. Judges just apply them. An originalist comes to the court with a fundamental humility and modesty about what the job is that they're there to do. An originalist doesn't think of herself as a super legislator whose opinions will be read by angels from stone tablets in heaven. Judicial activism, on the other hand, is the bad idea that judges' black robes are just fake, and truthfully, they're wearing red or blue partisan jerseys under them. We should reject all such judges. And so today, when we have a nominee before us, we should be asking her questions that are not about trying to predetermine how certain cases will be judged. And a final term that we should be clear about, I mentioned earlier, but I think it's worth underscoring, is we should underscore what is court packing. Court packing is the idea that we should blow up our shared civics, that we should end the deliberative structure of the Senate by making it just another majoritarian body for the purposes of the Supreme Court. Court packing would depend on the destruction of the full debate here in the Senate, and it is a partisan suicide bombing that would end the deliberative structure of the United States Senate and make this job less interesting for all 100 of us. Not for 47 or 53, because it's hard to get to a supermajority that tries to protect the American people from 51, 49, 49, 51 swings all the time. What blowing up the filibuster would really do is try to turn the Supreme Court into the ultimate super legislature. Court packing is not judicial reform, as some of you who wrote the memo over the weekend got a lot of media to bite on. Court packing is destroying the system we have now. It is not reforming the system we have now. And anybody who uses that language, the language that implies filling legitimate vacancies, is actually just another form of court packing that's playing the American people for fools. And the American people actually want a Washington, D.C. that depoliticizes more decisions, not politicizes more decisions. So, Judge, I'm glad that you're before us. I'm looking forward to hearing your opening statement later today. I look forward to the questioning you have to endure over the next 2 or 3 days, even though you probably look forward to it a little bit less. Congratulations and welcome.
Senator Coons.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Judge Barrett, to you and your family, welcome. Over the past weeks, I've been flooded with calls, texts, emails from Delawareans. Delawareans who are scared because they are worried. Worried about their own health, because they don't know if it's safe for their kids to go to school, if their businesses will survive, or because they're wondering why on earth this Senate is focused on racing forward with a Supreme Court nominee, but is not willing to take a vote to provide needed relief for them and their families. It is an understandable question when we're in the midst of a devastating global pandemic, in which more than 210,000 Americans have died, more than 7 million have been infected and have a new pre-existing condition, while there were just 300,000 new cases this week. Today, more than 25 million Americans are collecting unemployment. This is an ongoing national emergency, and as an exercise in civics,
Now you got there and get a damn job, or Mr. Coons.
working day and night.
See how the economy's kicking ass.
Instead, my colleagues are barreling forward with a confirmation hearing that's distracted from our responsibilities to our constituents and threatens to further tear our nation apart. Mr. Chairman, as you know, we're just 22 days from election. There is no precedent, despite my colleagues' lengthy and I think hypocritical lecture about the history. There is no precedent in our nation's history for confirming a Supreme Court nominee by the Senate this close to a presidential election, in which a majority of states are already voted. In fact, 6 million Americans have voted. This process flies in the face of the very rule Republicans set themselves in 2016, when they refused, as a matter of politics, not of civics, to even consider a highly qualified nominee, Judge Merrick Garland, 9 months before an election, simply because it was an election year. Mr. Chairman, in 2018, you went a step further and said, if an opening on the Supreme Court came up in the last year of President Trump's term, you would wait until the next election and let the voters decide. So what changed? Sadly, nothing. Nothing except the fact that this time, President Trump and his allies in the Senate saw a chance in Justice Ginsburg's untimely passing to shift the balance of the Supreme Court for decades to come, and that will have consequences in the real lives of millions of Americans. Proceeding with this confirmation today is wrong. If I could, to my colleague who just spoke, religious liberty, I agree, is foundational to our civics and our republic. And I and my colleagues will focus, Judge Barrett, on your legal writings, your opinions, your articles, your speeches as a law professor and judge. And I think when we do that, we will conclude the ways in which you may serve as a justice will do irreparable harm. I think proceeding with this nomination in this way at this time will also do harm to what remaining trust we have in each other, to the Senate as a whole, and potentially to the court itself. As if all of this weren't reason enough for us to delay, we're proceeding despite having 2 members of this committee who've contracted the virus. That's why the Senate's out of session today. That's why all of us, when not speaking, are wearing masks. That's why the distance between us. In light of all of this, in light of the stresses,
Let's see if they brought my original.
I think
Come
this
back,
rush
wow.
is critical. Proceed. But instead we are. So let me try to explain to those who've reached out to me why and why it matters. Centrally, it's this. President Trump has promised over and over and over again that he would repeal the Affordable Care Act. He ran on that promise, but despite his very best efforts, he's failed. My Republican colleagues here and in the House have voted over and over and over to repeal the Affordable Care Act since it was passed a decade ago. But thankfully for the people of our nation and my state, they too have been unsuccessful. And yet today, to make good on this promise to achieve what they could not accomplish through the democratic process, they're looking to the courts, in fact, to the court. They're looking to this nominee. He explicitly promised anyone he nominated to the Supreme Court would do the right thing, be a vote to overturn the Affordable Care Act. In just 1 week after the upcoming election, the Supreme Court will hear a case in which the Affordable Care Act is at issue and where the
That's
Supreme
not
Court
the issue.
will
The
hear
issue
arguments.
is voting and getting that nominee in there. That's not the issue. That's your issue, homie.
To strike down this landmark law. So let me be clear. Just a week after the upcoming election, the Trump administration will be telling the Supreme Court to tear down the very law that provides health care protections in the middle of an ongoing pandemic. Judge Barret, you've publicly criticized the Supreme Court's past decisions upholding the Affordable Care Act, and I think that is appropriately at issue in the days to come. The president knows this. It's one reason why he and my colleagues are rushing to have this confirmation just in time to hear the administration's challenge to the Affordable Care Act. I don't think this is a coincidence. It's beyond ironic that this administration, which has failed to respond to this pandemic, is rushing through a judge they believe will vote to strip away healthcare protections. Today, because of the Affordable Care Act, insurance companies cannot discriminate against women for being women. They cannot charge more. They cannot treat pregnancy as a pre-existing condition. I cannot think of a sharper irony as we consider the legacy of Justice Ginsburg, who dedicated her life to fighting for gender equality. It also prevents insurance companies from charging any with pre-existing conditions more. So Americans no longer have to worry about going bankrupt because of an unexpected illness or accident. Don't take my word. Listen to the voice of Carrie, who's behind me to my right. Carrie from Middletown, Delaware, used to pay $800 a month for junk insurance, as she called it. Coverage so skimpy, she had to live in fear of going to the doctor's office or needing medication. Because of the ACA, she was able to get better coverage to pay.
Well, good for her. Get the nomination.
Yes, I
Oh,
Thanks to the ACA, she can't be denied care or coverage. She told me when he spoke, this takes the stress and the worry out of it. And then asked me, how is this even an issue? Wasn't that settled years ago? Carrie's right. She should have the peace of mind that you can care for yourself and your family if you get sick. I've heard so many more stories from Delaware. Just over my shoulder here is Debbie from Newcastle, a self-employed small business owner who receives her health insurance through the marketplace. Her pre-existing condition requires her to attend physical therapy and doctor's appointments each month. Without the ACA, insurance companies would have charged her more because of her condition, and she wouldn't be able to afford her medical bills to support her small business. Here's Barb Slater from Newark, Delaware, who was diagnosed with scleroderma 4 years ago. After losing her employer-sponsored health insurance, she was able to find new coverage in the marketplace thanks to the Affordable Care. My inbox and the inbox of all my colleagues are filled with stories like Carrie's, Debbie's, Barb's, and they highlight the breadth of what the ACA means to the American people. The ability of young people to stay on their family's insurance, lower out-of-pocket costs for seniors' prescriptions, the elimination of lifetime tests. These protections are on the line in the ballot and on the docket of the Supreme Court. And it's not just the ACA at risk. Judge, I'm deeply concerned about ways in which your approach to something that may sound abstract to folks watching stare decisis or precedent, that means your approach to reviewing and reconsidering and possibly overturning long-settled cases may overturn some of the very principles for which Justice Ginsburg fought her entire adult life, principles that protect settled fundamental rights for all Americans. What might this mean? Cases like Griswold versus Connecticut that establish married couples have a right to obtain and use contraception in the privacy of their own home may be in danger of being struck down. It means cases like Roe versus Wade, which protects a woman's right to make her own critical healthcare decisions, may be on the line. And it means Obergefell versus Hodges, which made marriage equality the law of this land, could be overruled. Just the day after we celebrated Coming Out Day nationally, stripping LGBTQ individuals of what Justice Kennedy memorably called equal dignity in the eyes of the law. This is what I believe is at stake with this nomination. Judge Barret, you will be deciding cases that have real daily impacts. We deserve to understand why President Trump nominated you and what consequences your decision may have on them and their lives. I've heard my report. Justice.
We gotta hear from everybody on the fucking panel.
This is about today is an abstract fight about interpretive methodology and truth. They seem shocked. We're talking about what the Supreme Court might do. Judge Barret, we're to become justice here. Judge Barret, I'm not suggesting you made some secret deal with President Trump.
Yes, he is.
The reason you were chosen is precisely because your judicial philosophy, repeatedly stated, could lead to the outcomes President Trump has sought. And I think that has dramatic and potentially very harmful consequences with regards to the election, the Affordable Care Act, and long settled rights. This is what I intend to lay out this week. And this is what I hope the American people will hear in the course of this confirmation. Thank you.
Thanks, Senator. For planning purposes, I think I talked to Senator Feinstein. We will go to Senator Hawley, Blumenthal, and Tillis. We'll take a 30-minute break to grab a bite to eat and take a little bit of a break and come back and finish up. So, Senator Hawley.
Not me, folks. I'll be keeping alive all day.
Welcome. It's good to see you again. Mr. Barret.
I'm gonna make the longest live video ever. I'm just gonna keep my camera rolling on me 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That way when I break my foot, I got oh, other than the swelling and the pain.
I've been sitting for a couple of hours, so maybe you can give me some tips, Jesse and Judge, when we're finished here. You know, we've got.
Hey, that guy looks like a Republican. Just by looking at him, he's
we've got to read a lot of
good haircut,
in the press.
cleanly shaven. Yep, that's a Republican.
One
Just tell by looking at him. I know who he is.
One hit piece after another, many of them echoed by members.
Hot damn, he's taking the school. Get him, old boy.
Long active insular Christian group. We've read stories about your Catholic lifestyle, stories about how you raise your children, stories about how you adopted your children, stories about your Catholic doctrinal beliefs, over and over and over, questioning whether you have, I guess, the independence to be a justice on the United States Supreme Court. And it's not just in the newspapers, it's members of this committee, including the Democratic nominee for Vice President of the United States, who has questioned past nominees who've come before this committee about their membership in Catholic fraternal organizations like the Knights of Columbus. And for those watching at home, that's right, you heard me correctly. Senator Harris and others on this committee have repeatedly questioned judicial nominees' fitness for office because of their membership in the Knights of Columbus. The ranking member, when you were last before this committee, Judge, for your initial confirmation hearings, the ranking member referred to your Catholic convictions as dogma, that's a quote, that lives loudly within you.
Kitty, Kitty, back, Kitty.
Bigotry current in this
There's a whole house here, dude.
Wasn't alone. Other senators on this committee last time asked you if you were an Orthodox Catholic. One senator said she worried you would be a Catholic judge if you were confirmed because of your religious beliefs. I guess as opposed to an American judge.
All right.
You can't be both and about
Tell him,
a loyal American citizen. And it's not just you, Judge. Other nominees who have come before this committee for years now have been asked by my Democrat colleagues over and over their views on sin, their views on the afterlife, their views about the membership statements of Catholic organizations, about their membership in other Christian organizations, and on and on and on. And let's be clear about what this is. This is an attempt to broach a new frontier, to set up a new standard. Actually, it's an attempt to bring back an old standard that the Constitution of the United States forbids. I'm talking about a religious test for office. Article 6 of the Constitution of the United States, before we even get to the Bill of Rights, Article 6 of the Constitution of the United States says clearly, and I quote, no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or
if that was the case, there would have never been the first
Now, that was
Supreme Court justice.
1787 when it was written, and it's worth
Yeah, back in
It's
1867.
because no country, no republic in the history of the world had ever guaranteed to its citizens the right to freedom of conscience and religious liberty. Every other country that had ever existed tied together the religious beliefs that would be approved by the powerful and the right to serve in office, or to vote, or just to be a citizen. In every other country across history, you had to agree with what those in power agreed with in order to hold office or be a citizen in good standing. You had to sign a
Communism, in other words.
confession, or you had to disavow particular religious groups, swear not to follow the Pope, for instance. You had to pledge allegiance to the God of the city or the God of the empire.
Yeah.
This was true from 18th century Britain all the way back to ancient Rome. So when our founders put Article 6 into the Constitution of the United States, they were making a very deliberate choice. They were breaking with all of that past history, and they were saying in America it would be different. In the United States of America, we would not allow the ruling class to have veto power over your faith, over what Americans believed, over who we gathered with to worship, and why, and where, and how. No, in this country, the people of the United States would be free to follow their own religious convictions, free to worship, free to exercise their religion, and people of faith would be welcome in the public sphere. They'd be welcome there. They'd be welcome without having to get the approval of those in power, like those on this committee. They would be welcome to come and to bring their religious beliefs to bear on their lives, on their office, in all that they do. So long, of course, as they were peaceful citizens who followed the law. Religious people of all backgrounds would be welcome.
David, what's up, Uzi? David and
And
Uzi.
no person
I'm
in
Uzi.
power would be
Let's call
able
you
to
Uzi.
control American people, any American citizen, thought or believed or who they worshiped. This freedom of conscience and religious liberty undergirds all of our other rights, because it tells the government that it cannot tell us what to think, or who we can assemble with, or how we can worship, or what we can say. And that's why Article 6 is there even before we get to the Bill of Rights and the First Amendment. But this bedrock principle of American liberty is now under attack. That is what is at stake when we read these stories attacking Judge Barret for her faith. That is what is at stake when my Democratic colleagues repeatedly question Judge Barret and many other judicial nominees about their religious beliefs, about their religious membership, about their religious practices, about their family beliefs and practices. That is an attempt to bring back the days of the religious test. That is an attempt to bring back the veto power of the powerful over the religious beliefs and sincerely held convictions of the American people. And that is what is at stake in this confirmation hearing. Judge Barret is Catholic. We all know that. She's a devout Catholic. We all know that. She and her husband have chosen to raise their family according to their Catholic fellowship with other Catholics. We all know that. Heck, 5 million Americans are Catholics, and many millions more are Christians of other persuasions. Are they to be told that they cannot serve in public office, that they are not welcome in the public sphere unless the members of this committee sign off on their religious beliefs? I, for one, do not want to live in such an America. And the Constitution of the United States flatly prohibits it. And the Constitution says that people of faith, like Judge Barret, are welcome in high office, welcome in any office, welcome throughout our public life here in this country. And I would just say to my Democrat colleagues that these years now, this pattern and practice, as we say in the law, this pattern and practice of religious bigotry, because that's what it is. When you tell somebody that they're too Catholic to be on the bench, when you tell them they're going to be a Catholic judge, not an American judge, that's bigotry. The pattern and practice of bigotry from members of this committee must stop. And I would expect that it be renounced. Now, I just heard my colleague,
I'll read your comments in a minute.
reference to an old case, the Griswold case, which I can only assume is another hint at Judge Barrett's religious faith, referring to Catholic doctrinal beliefs. I don't know what else it can be, since no one has challenged this case. It's not a live issue. It hasn't been for decades. This is the kind of thing I'm talking about, and this is the sort of attacks that must stop. I look forward, Judge Barrett, to getting the chance to speak with you further about your legal credentials, about your legal views, about your approach to the law and your judicial philosophy. But I hope that one thing that this confirmation process will stand for in the end, I hope when we look back at the confirmation hearings for Judge Amy Barrett, soon I hope to be Justice Amy Barrett, one thing we will say is that was the time, that was the year that the attempt to bring back religious tests for office was finally stopped. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Blumenthal.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Judge Barrett, and to your family, welcome to the committee. I want to introduce you to one of my constituents, Coney of Richfield, Connecticut. He is 10 years old and he suffers from Duchenne muscular dystrophy. It is a horrible, incurable disease. It slowly deprives children of the strength and their ability to move. Eventually, it robs them of their lives. The cost of providing Coney's care are astronomical, but for Coney and his family, it is worth every penny. Coney is a superhero, but he's always had a real sidekick. He's had the protection of the Affordable Care Act. It has shielded him and his family on coverage that would have cut off his care when it became too expensive. It has protected Coney from losing insurance because of this insidious disease that he never caused and chose. The Affordable Care Act has given his family a measure of relief, of hope, of peace. They still worry about Coney's health, but not their coverage or its cost. Coney and millions of others like him are why I will oppose your nomination. Your nomination is about the Republican goal of repealing the Affordable Care Act, the Obamacare they seem to detest so much. It's about people like Coney, protections for people with pre-existing conditions, tax credits that make health insurance more affordable, bans on charging women more simply because they are women. That's what my Republican colleagues have been fighting to repeal for the last decade. They voted dozens and dozens of times to repeal the Affordable Care Act, and they have challenged it twice unsuccessfully in the United States Supreme Court. And each time they failed, but now, just 1 week after the election, as you know, the fate of the Affordable Care Act will be again in the hands of the United States Supreme Court. Republicans have turned again to the court to try to achieve judicially what they cannot achieve legislatively. President Trump has vowed that any judge he nominates would pass the very strong test, his word, and that they would strike down the Affordable Care Act. Judge Barrett, in all honesty, you have auditioned for this job through your academic writing and judicial opinions, and you passed that test. In fact, you stated twice, in effect, that you would have voted to strike down the Affordable Care Act had you been a justice at the time. You've been vetted, you've been screened by the Trump administration and special interests who want an active judge. They want someone who will legislate from the bench and strike down laws supported by a vast majority of the American people. And that activism uses originalism as its smokescreen. If the American people have any doubt about how dedicated my Republican colleagues are to taking away people's health care, just listen to their own words. They've been remarkably candid and forthright. Senator Grant, our chairman, has said, you can't repair this monstrosity, I'm quoting, you can't repair this monstrosity called Obamacare, you have to tear it down and start over. Senator Ernst said, quote, I support immediate action to repeal Obamacare and replace it. Senator Coney, it's time to repeal and replace. Senator Tiller, repeal Obamacare. Let's end this disaster. And President Trump himself has said, we want to terminate Obamacare. Millions of Americans, more than 130 million, have a pre-existing condition.
Yeah. Yeah. And he already said like 2 days ago that we were going to, all pre-existing bullshit will be covered under his new fucking thing. Covered COVID.
Now is a pre-existing condition.
Yeah, and he agreed to that already, you big fool. Man, you guys supposed to be politicians, and I know what the president's doing, and you don't.
During a pandemic, that's really what is at stake in the Republican lawsuit, now before the Supreme Court, and in this nomination. And sadly, it's not just the Affordable Care Act that's at stake. It's a woman's right to decide when and how to have a family, control over her own body. An activist judge on the bench doing what Congress could not do would also strike down common sense gun safety laws. Connecticut has been at the forefront on gun violence protection. On gun safety, Judge, you acknowledge that your dissenting opinion in Tanner sounds kind of radical. That's because it is. But if your views on the Second Amendment are adopted by the Supreme Court, it would imperil common sense state laws like Connecticut all around the country. Today, we're going to be working on improving American health care. We're going to be fighting COVID-19, which has infected 8 million Americans and killed more than 215,000. We should be producing a national testing strategy, instituting effective contact tracing, and securing sufficient PPE. We are be providing assistance to the millions of Americans who have lost their jobs and face economic hardship and heartbreak. President Trump has failed to do any of it. Instead, he and our Republican colleagues are riveted on rushing a judge through this sham process, stopping everything else. President Trump's failure to act will likely lead to 55,000 additional deaths, 55,000 additional Americans lost over just the next 3 months. Senate Republicans are refusing to address American health care or COVID-19 or economic relief about putting an extremist ideological judge on the bench, and not just on the Supreme Court. I've learned as a senator that there are very few unwritten rules, I should say, in this place. But there is one very important unwritten rule. Keep your word. Republicans have all sorts of excuses for why they are breaking their promise, the promise that they would not confirm a Supreme Court justice during an election year. Each excuse boils down to nothing more than raw political power. They're doing it because they can. But might does not make right. They have boasted, they have the vote, but they don't have the American people, and they don't have history on their side. The American people want to fight and conquer this disease. They want a planned book Americans back to work. They want a blueprint for the future, not rolling back, right, and turning back the clock. I revere the Supreme Court. I clerked for Justice Harry Blackmun. I've argued cases before the court 4 times. Now I'm really deeply concerned that the Supreme Court is losing the trust and respect of the American people. The authority of the Supreme Court depends on that trust. It has no army or police force to enforce its decisions. The American people follow the Supreme Court's commands, even when they disagree, because they respect its authority. And now, President Trump and the Republican Senate are eroding and destroying that legitimacy. They strip the American people of their say in this process simply to confirm a justice who will strike down in court, legislate from the bench what they can't repeal in Congress. Your participation, let me be very blunt, in any case involving Donald Trump's election would immediately do explosive, enduring harm to the court's legitimacy and to your own credibility. You must recuse yourself. The American people are afraid and they're angry, and for good reason. It's a break glass moment. Americans must use their voices to speak out and stand up, to contact my colleagues on this committee, despite their votes about having votes. Stand up and speak out to protect their own health, public health, and the health of our democracy. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Blumenthal. We will now have Senator Tillis, who's with us remotely. After his opening statement, we will come back at 12:20, and Senator Hirono, you will be the first one to make a statement. Senator Tillis.
Thank you, Chairman Graham and Ranking Member Feinstein. I want to take a moment to honor the life and legacy of Justice Ginsburg. She was a living legend and a giant in the legal world as a professor, as a lawyer, and as a judge and a justice. She was an inspirational model and role model, and we honor her legacy. And I just want to make sure that her family knows the nation mourns her loss. But today we're here to consider a nomination of a highly qualified jurist to the United States Supreme Court, Judge Amy Coney Barret. She's a top legal scholar, a professor in the mold of the late Justice Scalia. Her work is widely respected in the legal community, and it's clear why her former students voted her multiple times to be the Distinguished Professor of the Year at the Notre Dame Law School. It's also why every full-time faculty member of Notre Dame Law supports her nomination. Her legal work and teaching have inspired hundreds of young lawyers, especially aspiring female lawyers. She's a remarkable mother. She has 7 beautiful children, and in spite of being busy working as the 7th Circuit Justice, she makes time to be involved in her community. And this nomination is important because it's going to have a lasting impact on our republic. A justice service on the bench involves every important issue facing our constitutional republic. What are the limits of abusive and intrusive government power? What's the proper role of each branch of government? And what are the fundamental protections that our Constitution grants to all Americans? These are foundational questions for the Supreme Court, and they consider them every single term. If confirmed, Judge Barret will be tasked with answering these questions, and I believe she's going to do a great job. But it's not the rights enshrined in the Constitution. It's the structure of the document itself that ensures our freedom. Justice Scalia understood this. He was fond of saying, every president provides a bill of rights. That's not what makes us free. What makes us free is Constitution. Think of the word Constitution. It means structure. Justice Scalia went on to call the genius of our founding generation.
Spill my poppy. Mother, get down now, put my phone in my pop. I can't even get up a fucking wall.
When that happens, liberty dies and tyranny reigns. That's why it's critical that Supreme Court justices maintain the proper role. In some cases, they don't make policy.
Oh, I got my sock wet.
The court is drifted towards a trend where it decides
down, dog.
over policy.
Go get in the bed.
Through their elected representatives, people like those of us in the U.S. Senate. Article 3 judges cannot and should not be policymakers. We heard many things today about the policy priorities that they'd like an activist court to pass. No Judge Barrett's nomination is into health care, abortion rights, labor rights, and the list goes on and on and on.
And on.
These statements are unfair and they're untrue.
That's true.
This week, they'll attempt to have Judge Barrett commit to policy outcomes rather than do the work for that policy outcome in the U.S. Senate. Just last month, while they were falsely claiming Judge Barrett's nomination would bring an end to the protections for pre-existing conditions, every single Democrat on this committee voted against the measure that would do just that. And they want the court to do it for them. My review of Judge Barrett's record convinces me she's not only one of the most qualified individuals ever to be nominated, but she also understands the proper role of the Article 3 branch. She reaches conclusions dictated by the law, not by personal preference. That's the right thing to do. My Democratic friends cry the idea a nominee has a predetermined outcome in mind, while in the same breath, they demand the nominee agree to their preferred outcome of a case. The hypocrisy is incredible. They ignore a central fact. Judge Barrett's rulings aren't meant to be for or against a particular policy outcome. She's not a legislator. That's our job. However, when the minority can't get their bad policies passed in Congress, they turn to the courts to demand that judges interpret the law not as written, but as they prefer.
And
Her opinion simply order the outcome the law dictates. As passed by Congress, a politically accountable branch. Nothing more and nothing less. My Democratic colleagues claim they care about the First Amendment, the Fifth Amendment, the 14th Amendment. If they care about our constitutional liberties, then they should care about confirming a judge who understands the proper role of the Supreme Court. Rights granted by 9 can just as easily be ended by 9. To quote Justice Ginsburg, real change, enduring change, happens one step at a time. It doesn't happen by judicial fiat. Judge Barrett understands that principle. She knows the role of Supreme Court justice, and she is highly qualified to do this job. Judge Barrett, when I met with you in the Capitol, I asked you to sign 2 pocket constitutions for my 2 granddaughters, and in it, you wrote, dream big. When they're old enough to understand the significance, I'm going to explain to them that just like Justice Barrett, they can, with hard work and determination, realize their American dream. So for the next few days, when members of this committee mischaracterize the Jews, their allies in the liberal media are saying terrible things about you and your family, stand tall, stand proud, and stand true. Rely on your faith. I know that you're an inspiration to millions of young women in this country, like my granddaughters, and we're proud of you. Thank you, Judge Barrett, for being with us today. Congratulations on the recognition of your hard work and your character. I look forward to hearing your testimony. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thanks, Senator. So us will be in recess until 12:20. We'll start back with Senator Runner.
Hello, hello, hello. I'm back. No, 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 no. They leave the board from a bunch of crying. No, 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 no. Crying ass liberals. My foot is a foot. My foot is a foot. Austin. Quit farting. Ooh. Struck a book of these. I struck one of them and that fell off. Like, see how that broke? That fell off and fell down into the red part of them. It exploded. Burnt the shit on my finger. As you can see. Don't you want some? Come get some. Yeah.